Chapter 600. A nameless hero from the future that no one knew about. That was probably the best way to describe Essel. Although, for me, as long as I have the means to complete the mission, it doesn't matter whether I have a name or not. With that thought in mind, Essel stood facing the wind and looked into the distance. The location was deep in the mountains that looked like a giant beast that could devour people. The location was a temple located in the mountains. Essel stood at the top of the temple and looked a few kilometers away with his clairvoyant skill. There, the expected enemies were coming this way. There was a girl wearing an inappropriate aristocratic costume and looked a little anxious. There was a sage holding a wooden staff with a disgusting frivolous face. There was a subservient holding a shield with an incredible creature standing on his shoulder. There was a boy who looked weak, but his eyes were constantly flashing with brilliance that could not be underestimated. The group of 4 was rushing this way. Sure enough, they came. Assel's tone was full of unpredictability. Ever since he was defeated, Assel had been waiting for him here. Since the rest of the servants have been defeated, it's only a matter of time before they come to challenge me. So, instead of launching an attack, it was better to wait here for the enemy to come to him. Anyway, no matter what, as long as the enemy came close, it would be advantageous for him to occupy a commanding position and monitor the surrounding several kilometers. For this reason, Essel deliberately destroyed the soars around the mountains so that Renaud and his group could not approach from the underground like last time. This time, red magic burst out of Assel's hand and formed a black iron bow. He held it tightly in his hand. The moment Essel held the bow, Renaud and his group approached the mountain. 2 servants immediately reacted. Enemy detected. Mano immediately tensed up and raised his shield. So it was Essel who launched the attack first. Townsend smiled disdainfully, as if he knew Assel's style, but his grip on the wooden staff tightened. The opponent is an archer, so it's not a problem to become like this. Calmephala seemed to be mentally prepared to be targeted. Then, Reynolds pulled himself together and pulled Fu off of Mano's shoulder, throwing her onto Calmephala's body. Soon after, he looked in the direction of the deep mountains and revealed a smile. Let's follow the plan and nullify Issa's attack. Reynolds's words made everyone around him laugh along with him. Then, the surging magic power bloomed around them. What? Assel, who was about to shoot, suddenly narrowed his eyes. He saw that within the range of his all-seeing eyes, there was a sudden change in the movements of Reynolds and his group that were rushing over. This is a secret technique. Look carefully. Townsend shouted as he raised the wooden staff in his hand. After spinning it for a while, he heavily knocked it on the ground. Along with a dang sound, a rune flickering with light appeared on the ground that was struck by the wooden staff. That was the rune script, which could replace the effects of spells and magic arrays. Magic could be activated by simply inscribing it. It originated from the mysteries of Northern Europe. Townsend didn't spend any time to complete the rune script and activate the magic. The next second, the ground that was struck by the wooden staff suddenly protruded and thick roots drilled out. As a warrior who inherited the magic of rune, Cuchulain was often called the forest sage when he was a magician. Although there were many types of magic in runes, and through the flexible use of different runes, Townsend could achieve various and powerful effects, such as magic power, clairvoyance, and other skills, and even raising one of the ability parameters to the highest level, but they had the disadvantage that they couldn't be used at the same time. Furthermore, due to his personality, Townsend was more inclined to attack actively. Now, Townsend displayed his aggressive side. Thick roots drilled out of the ground and extended towards the deep mountains like a bridge. Reynolds and his group were sitting at the front of the roots. Following the gaze of the roots, they were approaching the deep mountains at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, the distance of nearly a kilometer was eliminated. Don't even think about it. Seeing that the enemy was closing in on him in an unexpected way, Assel didn't even have a chance to kite him. Without hesitation, he knocked an arrow on the bowstring and aimed at the enemy. However, since Reynolds decided to attack in this way, he naturally wouldn't give Assel a chance to snipe him. Therefore, even though the saws couldn't be used, Reynolds still secretly sent his tamed demons here. Now was the time for these tamed demons to come into play. Bang! Just as Assel's arrow was about to break through the air, the ground around the temple also burst open. Many gigantic demonic ants crawled out from the ground. Just as Assel's expression changed, the demonic ants began to move. It was as if they had turned into turrets. They didn't charge at Essel, but instead, they carried huge rocks and used their monstrous strength that was comparable to that of a superior tamed demon to throw the rocks one by one. As a result, the rain of stones covered the sky and covered Essel. All you can do is play some useless tricks. Assel leaped up and avoided the incoming projectiles. He spun his body and kicked out fiercely. He was ready to kick away a piece of rock that was flying towards his door. But Assel didn't notice it at all. On the back of the stone he kicked, an exquisite rune suddenly lit up. When Assel noticed it, it was already too late. Boom! The sound of an explosion resounded. The rock engraved with runes exploded like a bomb and turned into a billowing heat wave that covered Assel. In the dark mountain, the red flames were like waves. Layer by layer, they surged above the temple and illuminated the surroundings. The surrounding forest was blown by the hot wind. Not only were the trees swaying, but the fragile leaves also quickly withered and fell to the ground. Assel appeared from the fire wave. His body was emitting some black smoke. He fell to the ground in a sorry state. TSK. Although the damage he received wasn't high, it still affected him. Assel couldn't help but be speechless. Then, the voice of the culprit appeared. Chapter 601. You can't even stand this level of magic. The name of the third knight is crying. At the same time, the thick tree roots that extended like a bridge finally arrived here, allowing Reynolds and his men to descend from above. Looking at Assel kneeling on one knee, Reynolds smiled as if victory was in his hands. Although you have magic skills, the level of the skill is not high. Serena and Ethel, these three classes of servants, all had magical skills. They could be immune to magic damage and effects to a certain extent, but magic was also divided into different levels. For example, Mano's magic power was at grade A. Other than grade X, which couldn't be compared to, she was at the highest grade A. Therefore, even the most powerful magicians in the current era couldn't hurt her with magic alone. The power of her magic was so high that it was shocking. Compared to Mano, Assel, who also has magic skills, is much weaker. Your magic power is very weak, only D rank. You can only nullify the magic of an engineering project. At this level, even a slightly stronger magician can easily break through, not to mention a divine magician like Townsend. Reynolds looked at Assel with an inexplicable smile in his eyes. Do you think blocking the saw is enough to make up for the mistake of the last attack? That's a big misunderstanding. Your biggest mistake should be coming face to face with me during the first ambush. As your master, I saw through your ability value. So, your weak magic power became my breakthrough point. As soon as his voice fell, a large amount of magic gushed out from Reynolds's body. Through the temporarily constructed contract channel, the magic was injected into Townsend, who had a temporary contract with Reynolds. Come on. Townsend immediately laughed heartily. With a flick of his finger, he sprinkled mana into the space in front of him, drawing runes that flickered with light. The next moment, these runes all turned into balls of flame, and like a cannonball, they burst out and swept in the direction of Assel. Essel was shocked. He didn't even have the time to hesitate as he prepared to jump again to avoid the incoming fireballs. Unfortunately, Assel forgot that the enemy he had to face was not only Townsend. Bang! In the explosion sound, magic ants drilled out from the ground around Assel. They used their monstrous forelimbs to firmly hold Assel's leg. Damn it! Seeing this, Ethel knew what was going on. He couldn't avoid it. Countless balls of flame suddenly covered Assel's body. Boom! The fierce explosion resounded through the sky, causing the fire to spread everywhere. Success! Calmephala, who was hugging Fu, cried out in surprise as she resisted the hot wind. However, unlike Calmephala, Reno, Mano, and Townsend all shouted in unison. No, not yet. Just as they finished speaking, the fire in front of them separated. Over there, Essel, who had suffered a direct hit, was unscathed. The black bow in his hand had long disappeared, and in its place was a black and white dagger that looked like a Tai Chi symbol. The dagger cut off the 2 demonic ants that were holding him tightly. In front of Asel, there was a mirror-like transparent shield with 6 petals. Regardless of the reactions of the others, Reynolds could only smile bitterly in his heart. So there is a shield. After all, as an archer, if he could project a melee weapon, it wouldn't be strange for him to project a shield. Because of this, Renaud didn't hesitate to use magic to increase the power of Townsend's magic in an attempt to take down Asel in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, the accuracy of the projection was unimaginably high, and the projected weapons were all extremely sturdy. Unlike other magicians, the weapons created by projection magic would be quite fragile due to lack of imagination and other factors, and would break at the touch. From this point of view, Asel was indeed a heroic spirit that only existed in myths and legends. Of course, Reynolds didn't realize that what he did could bring such a big threat to the servants, which was already rare and precious. You guys almost succeeded. Asel stood up with a heavy face, but he didn't look at Townsend's direction. Instead, he stared at Renaud. So that's the difference between having a master and not having one? Clearly, Asel had realized it. Here, the most difficult thing to deal with isn't the hound guarding the door, nor is it the girl holding that thorny shield. It's you. Asel's eyes released a murderous aura. Senpai. Ma Nuo immediately jumped in front of Reynolds as if he had been provoked. His face was full of vigilance. Your opponent is me. Don't get it wrong. Townsend also stood in front of Mano and looked at Asel with a provocative look. Even Camavella was glaring at Asel with hostility, as if warning him. And the more they acted like this, the more Asel valued Renaud. It seems that the key this time is not someone else, but you, unknown master. Asel said calmly. In that case, come here. Come here and see if you have the ability to save this era. Leaving these words behind, Asel did not launch another attack. Instead, his body turned into light particles and disappeared. Seeing this, everyone frowned. He realized that he can't win this game alone, so he decisively retreated. Calmephala understood. He's as smart as always, so annoying. Townsend was a little unhappy. Senpai, Mano also looked at Renaud. Under everyone's gaze, Renaud shrugged. Although I want to deal with Asel first and then focus on Serena, the opponent is smarter than I thought. He probably saw through our purpose and raised his vigilance. Next, we can only deal with Serena and Asel at the same time. This wasn't a situation that could be brushed off with a smile. It's just that, I didn't plan to leave a way out for myself. Renaud looked at the direction that gave him a creepy feeling. There was only one thing left to do. That was to attack the root of the problem. The Big Hollow. It was a huge cave located deep in the mountain called Yuanzhong Mountain. As the name suggested, it was a huge hollow, quite spacious. After Asel's retreat, Renaud and his men arrived at the tunnel leading to the Big Hollow after a long journey. We're finally here. Chapter 602. As soon as he saw the spacious cave, Reynolds lay on the ground as if he was burnt out. He looked like he had nothing left to live for. Hey, it's only a 20-minute journey. You walked so slowly and you're so tired. Isn't your stamina a little too weak? Looking at Reynolds, Townsend was a little dumbfounded and speechless. What do you mean by slow? It's not that easy to keep up with you servants. Reynolds fiercely retorted. One must know that the big hole was located in the inner part of the Yuanzhong Mountain. If one wanted to find the passage to the big hole, they would have to go through a long mountain path. Of course, it was not a short path for Reynolds. In fact, it was not a particularly unacceptable distance and consumption. This made Townsend scratch his head and spread his hands. Is this the price of talent? You have an outstanding mind and magic talent, but your stamina is taken away. If my master saw this, she wouldn't be able to take it, right? Townsend's words did not cause a reaction from Reynolds, but from Mano. Mr. Ku Cholin's master is the master of the Shadow Kingdom, the queen of witches who can even kill gods, right? Mano asked. Townsend was not too interested in this. Forget about the honorifics. I'm not used to that. So, just call me Townsend. Don't call me by my real name, Townsend said, then curled his lips and smiled. That's right. Compared to me, my master is really strong. There are not many in the world who can compare to her. The person who trained Ulster's strongest warrior, Cu Chulainn, was naturally not an ordinary person. She lived in the Shadow Kingdom, one of the Celtic wonderlands. She was known as the Queen of the Underworld who accepted the dead and souls. She was also a talented teacher who had trained many of her disciples to become warriors or magicians. She had also trained many famous heroes in history as a teacher. She had combat skills that allowed her to step into the realm of the gods, and she also had magic tricks that even many gods could not touch. She was clearly in a human body, but she stepped into the realm of the gods as a human body, and thus killed countless undead, humans, and even gods. Thanks to this great witch was cursed for the rest of her life. Unable to die, she would live forever in the country of shadow. Unless the world was destroyed, she would never be able to find peace. She was one of the most famous figures in Celtic mythology, the eternal queen and lord of the otherworld, Skarha. Someone who can teach Mr. Cu Townsend? Mano asked curiously. What kind of person is she? How do I put it? Townsend scratched his head in confusion, as if he did not know how to describe it. After a while, he said, she is not only terrifyingly strong, but she can also see through the cause and effect of everything in the world. She is a sage who never talks about it. Compared to us disciples, her talent is of the highest level, so she can easily see through the quality, temperament, and ability of others. She is very fond of talent. Because of this, Skarha had many disciples, and each of them was overflowing with talent. They were all taught by her to be indomitable heroes. My master's greatest wish is to train someone who can kill her and free herself from the curse of immortality. Unfortunately, no one has been able to do it until now. So, she is probably still alive in the Shadow Kingdom. If you have the chance to go there, you might be able to see her. Townsend's irresponsible words made Mar Nuo speechless on the spot. Calmephala even spoke out. As early as the Gods' era, the Shadow Kingdom was no longer connected to the modern world. In the modern world where mysticism is extremely rare, there is no way to go there. Even if it is possible to transfer the soul seed, it is unknown whether it can be done. Even if it can be done, no idiot would go there. After all, the Shadow Kingdom was a kingdom of the dead. If a living person entered it, the chance of survival was less than 1 in 10,000. If one wanted to go there, it was no different from seeking death. However, being able to survive there is only the beginning. Otherwise, you won't even have the qualifications to receive my master's guidance. Townsend said so casually, then looked at Reynolds who was still lying on the ground, too tired to get up. He grinned and laughed. However, master might be able to do it. If you have the time, go and try. Seeing a rare talent like you being so useless, with my master's personality, she will definitely train you to the point that she won't even give you time to sleep. You will be reborn. These words made Reynolds tremble a little. If it was to practice magic, then so be it. But if it was to train his body, then he would definitely refuse. However, why did he have a feeling that this might really happen in the future? This must be an illusion. I'll send my tamed demons to check out the situation in the big hole first. Reynolds immediately changed the topic and prepared to summon his tamed demons. However, this time, Townsend stopped Reynolds. Don't waste your mana. This method can be used to deal with Essel, but it won't work on Serena. Townsend had fought with Serena once and even took a blow from Serena's relic. In the end, he was lucky enough to survive. After taking a blow from that relic, no matter who it is, they will be able to recognize Serena's true identity, right? Townsend said so in the beginning. Therefore, Reno and the others had already learned of Serena's real name from Townsend, and they were stunned for a long time. If Serena was really that person, then sending the tamed demons in would be a waste of mana. Therefore, let's just attack. Townsend suggested the most direct and violent method. There's no other way. Reynolds patted the dirt off his body and stood up. Then let's attack. Thus, under Reynolds's command, everyone rushed into the big hole. Finally, they arrived at the unimaginably spacious belly of the mountain. Here, the most ferocious existence had been waiting for them for a long time. Liar. As soon as they entered the big hole and saw Serena's body, Mano and Calmephala snorted at the same time. Townsend also gripped his staff tightly as if he was facing a great enemy. Reynolds took a deep breath and suppressed the cold sweat that was about to break out. All of this was because the other party had released a shocking amount of magic power that could crush everything. Is she here? Following such a light and cold voice, the biggest enemy in this singularity walked with powerful steps and appeared in front of everyone. Chapter 603. I want you to investigate something. Near the border between the human world and the demon world, there's a village called Hope Village. I want you to investigate the demon attack that happened about 12 years ago. Wait a moment, Your Majesty. Monsieur was stunned for a moment. Impossible, Your Majesty. Our demon race hasn't had any communication with the human race for almost 100 years. Even the business has stopped as early as 80 years ago. Moreover, the border is heavily guarded. It's impossible for the demon race to attack the human race. Yes, I also find it strange. Reynolds sat on a chair and crossed his right leg over his left leg. Then, he crossed his fingers and put his arm on his leg, revealing a very distressed expression. I've already banned all contact between demons and humans, so I suspect that there's an inside story behind this. I have some things to deal with recently, so I'll have to trouble you to make a trip. Understood. Monsieur raised his right hand and pointed at the magic array on the wall behind him. Your Majesty, this is... Oh, you're interested? Reynolds's eyes lit up, as if he had found a soulmate. This is Hope. Hope. Reynolds stroked the non-existent beard on his chin like an old man. Monsieur, how old are you? Should be 90. Humans have an advantage in terms of intelligence. Beasts, on the other hand, have an advantage in terms of physical strength and numbers. Do you know what the advantage of demons is? Monsieur shook his head. If I'm not wrong, I'm almost 200 years old this year. Monsieur's heart was greatly shaken. The advantage of demons is their savagery. It's different from what you usually feel. Because we're ferocious, we have an extremely high survivability. But because of that, our population has always been on the verge of extinction. More than 150 years ago, I used a secret method to seal most of the negative factors in the genes of the demons. That's why the demons you see now exist. Reynolds's words seemed to have overturned all of Monsieur's understanding of demons. There's another point, and that's the eternal night lineage of demons. The eternal night lineage generally has a long lifespan. So far, there aren't many eternal night lineages left. I'm one of them. Haha. In the eternal night lineage, I'm still not an adult. Your Majesty, why are you telling me such important information? Because I hope you can help me with something. Monsieur revealed a somewhat vexed expression. If I'm not wrong, there will be a great war in the near future. I hope you can protect this academy and my dear students for me. Although I haven't taught them anything yet, I feel very relaxed just looking at them. Also, you must protect this magic array. You must protect it at all costs. This is the starting point of Hope. This subordinate understands. Go, Hope Wong Village. The secrets there will determine the future of the three realms. A while after Monsieur left, Reynolds just silently raised his head and gazed at the stars in the sky. Is it going to start? Pa. Reynolds patted his cheeks twice, trying to change his mood. As expected, I can't be serious. Go to sleep, go. After closing the door, Reynolds removed the seal on the room. After all, this was the Demon King's secret. Bye, you're drooling all over the floor again. The night in R.I. Mengshu Magic Academy was still very quiet. There were no noises from the students, nor were there any shouts from the peddlers. The only sounds were the swaying of the grass and the squeaking of the insects hidden in the fields. Before going to sleep, Reynolds specially left a gap in the only window on the wall. The air that had cooled down during the day passed through the gap, bringing a chill. No, don't eat me. Bai's enlarged body was enough to occupy half of the entire room. After many years of observation by Reynolds, Arbai was an oddball among the emotional bunnies. Others were quiet when they slept, but Arbai was indeed like a dead pig. Not to mention drooling, sometimes it would even roll around like a salted fish, directly turning over and pressing Reynolds, who was sleeping on its back, directly under its body. Thinking about suddenly having a thing that could be counted by tons on the body while sleeping, that feeling was really indescribable. However, it was still okay today. It wasn't that exaggerated. It was just that Arbai had a dream about food and mistook Reynolds for something delicious. It kept licking from there, and Reynolds had a bad nightmare because of it. Achoo! The faint coldness made Reynolds impatiently wake up from his sleep. Looking at Arbai who was licking him, Reynolds was completely speechless. He didn't find this strange after seeing so many of these things. Whoa! Reynolds opened his arms and stretched his body as far as possible, forming a big shape to stretch his back. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. If he went back to sleep, he would have slept enough during the day. After a mental struggle, Reynolds decided to go out for a walk. The Dream Magic Academy was very big. In order to let the students learn better magic, they had specially built a place like the magic practice field for the students to practice magic. Maybe it was because Reynolds hadn't been to this place yet. At this moment, he suddenly wanted to visit this place on a whim. He heard that there was a stone statue of the current king here. I'm so hungry. Every time he woke up, Reynolds would feel hungry, and his stomach would always unconsciously bulge. Food, where can I find food? I guess there's no place open at this time. While thinking about this, Reynolds had already walked to the magic practice field. Suddenly, bang! A loud noise came from the practice field, and sand flew all over the sky. The practice field was circular and open air, a bit like the Colosseum. Therefore, there was no shelter, and the sand directly turned Reynolds into a small sandman. Who did this? Of course, this was the first reaction of almost everyone, but then Reynolds reacted. It's so late, why are there still people? Reynolds sneaked into the practice field, wanting to peek at who made him all black. The sky was still very dark. In the middle of the training field, there was a round dark green fighting ring with a radius of about 50 meters. On the fighting ring, there was a very bright golden color dancing in the air. The swishing sound of cutting was somewhat ear-piercing, and there was also a dazzling silvery white color. The nimble figure constantly shuttled back and forth on the fighting ring. Sometimes, there was a trace of a smile on the corner of the mouth. It was simply like a fairy in the night sky, dancing up and down gracefully. Chapter 604. Avina. Why are you here? Reynolds suddenly thought of what Hanabi had said. He looked at the girl in front of him who was practicing. The bricks she passed were obviously darker in color than the other bricks. Judging by the amount of sweat she was sweating, she had probably been practicing for a long time. She's so serious. Reynolds couldn't help but think as he looked at Avina's slightly sharp gaze and her slightly biting lips. Sigh. Reno sighed and shook his head. Sigh. Who told me to be so kind? Reno quietly walked forward and carefully observed Iwena's movements from there. Avina gave herself the position of a magic swordsman. Everyone in the army had to give themselves a clear position. Just like Monsieur, he thought that his strengths were in explosive power and speed, so he gave himself the position of a magic assassin. Avina, on the other hand, thought that her strengths were in endurance and fighting techniques, so she gave herself the position of a magic swordsman. Wrong. You should increase the output of magic here. The sudden notification gave Avina a fright. She immediately let out a ah, and the rapier in her hand fell to the ground. She slowly turned her head and found that it was actually her class teacher behind her. So it's you. After saying that, she bent down to pick up the rapier on the ground. Looks like you still can't do it. A swordsman should press forward with indomitable will. Although your movements just now looked delicate, it actually didn't have much effect. Furthermore, large movements will bring a lot of unnecessary movements. Plus, when you were frightened, the rapier fell from your hand. If I knew that the rapier was your second life, sigh, I don't know what your previous teacher taught you. Reynolds's sudden complaints actually made Avina a little angry. No matter what, it's none of your business. After picking up the rapier, Avina used her sleeves to gently wipe the blade. Then, she turned around and prepared to leave. Wait a minute, I'm still your class teacher. Give me some face, okay? Avina, who just walked to the door, suddenly stopped. She turned around and glanced at Reynolds. Just as she was about to say something, Reynolds suddenly stopped her. How about it? Do you want to go up and train? Reynolds's sudden request was not made on a whim. On the contrary, it was a plan made after careful consideration. Perhaps, this practice would affect Reynolds's attitude. How about this? I'm a teacher after all, so I'll go easy on you. As long as you can touch my clothes, you win. Huh? Avina doubted what she had heard. Who do you think I am? The two of them walked to the center of the ring, with a distance of about 30 meters between them. In a normal match, there would be many referees and spectators, but since it was night time, both men and women were hugging unknown soft objects, little bears and dolls. Don't think too much. It made sense for her to be so cold and cheerless while sleeping. Hey, don't you think it's boring to just compare notes? What do you want? Why don't we make a bet? Ariwena was tempted when she heard that. Hee hee. If I win, I'll make him bark on the floor like a dog. Ahem. That's a good suggestion. If I win, you have to bark twice like a dog. Sure. If I win, I hope you can treat me better. How about it? Sure. After this little interlude, Avina focused on her opponent. His posture is like a plate of loose sand, his magic aura is very weak, his eyes show a trace of fatigue, and his stomach is still growling. It's full of flaws. After a round of observation, Avina found that Reynolds did not intend to make the first move. He was just standing there in a daze, his hand covering his mouth as he yawned. Thus, she decided to make the first move. Condensed blazing heat, transform into endless flames. Sometimes ferocious, swallowing the sky and destroying the sun, sometimes cold as ice, covering the sky and the sun. Explode, icy flame spike. After slowly chanting the incantation, Avina began to mobilize the magic power within her body. Gradually, large amounts of light blue magic particles in the air slowly gathered in front of Avina. An enormous blue ice spike that was constantly throbbing like a flame was forming in front of Reynolds. Avina, let me tell you, if you were on the battlefield now, with your current incantation speed, you would have died 10 times over. Ha! While she was surprised, Orina also waved her hand and shot out the newly formed icicles. The ice spike's flying speed was very fast, about half a meter long. It was not the type that could not be dodged, but Reynolds still stood there with no intention of dodging. No wonder you're one of the top students among your peers. You should be testing me with this level of skill, right? After saying that, Reynolds casually waved his hand, and a strong gust of wind knocked the flying ice spike to the ground. The cracking sounds were pleasant to the ear, but to Avina, it was something inconceivable. How did you do that? Sigh, who knows? Maybe, it broke because of my handsomeness. Mouth area. You have the cheek to say that. Avina raised the silver rapier in her right hand, making it parallel to the front of her line of sight. Fluttering silver feathers, entrusted with the thoughts of the heart. The other side of dreams will always be sought. Spread your wings, celestial wings. Strings of incantations continuously absorbed the wind particles in the air, transforming them into silvery white fluffy feathers that floated around Avina. A pair of gigantic silvery white wings spread open behind her back, holy and pure. Wait, this is a wind attribute magic, how can it be so powerful? While sighing, Avina had already raised her sword and rushed forward. With the support of the celestial wings, Avina's speed, defense and attack were all greatly increased. She even left behind 1 or 2 after-images in the arena. It was a pity that every time Avina attacked, Reynolds would easily dodge. Furthermore, Reynolds purposely gave Avina the illusion that he was almost hit. Damn it, I'm so close to hitting him every time. He's as nimble as a mouse. Many long drawn-out battles were obviously a competition of endurance. Of course, the premise was that both parties were equally matched. Avina's physical strength was already somewhat overdrawn. Her pink cheeks were dyed red by adrenaline, and she was panting heavily. It was obvious that her body had lost a lot of energy. No, if this continues, I will lose without a doubt. I can only. Avina stopped breathing deeply and slowly closed her eyes. The magic particles in her body also calmed down a lot. Chapter 605. Since you're still a teacher, let me remind you that the spell I'm about to use is extremely dangerous. Because I've just learned it, even I can't control my strength well. If it hits you, even if you don't die, you'll lose a layer of skin. I advise you to admit defeat now. After Reynolds heard this, he immediately laughed out loud. First, it's obvious that I have the upper hand now. Second, I can already feel that the mana in your body is showing signs of dissipating. Third, I will not lose, no matter who it is. Very good. Tessia took a deep breath. The great Tao of heaven and earth, all living things coexist. The cycle of reincarnation is endless. Life and death depend on each other. Greed is the first in human nature. Purify all living things. Destroy the giant. Tessia extracted all the mana in her body into her right hand. She then chanted an incantation into her fist, which emitted a bright red light. Tessia viciously punched the ground. Suddenly, the red light flowed through the cracks in the ground and into the arena. A strong tremor swept through the entire training ground. Analyze. At this moment, a small magic array appeared in Reynolds's eyes. It kept rotating in his pupils. The arrangement of the incantation and words. Hey, you can't do this. Alright, this move is not bad, but it's useless against me. After the violent tremor, a huge red hand made of magma broke out of the ground. Then, another hand stretched out. Using your own mana as a medium, fire magic particles are injected into the ground to form magma. Reynolds looked at the magma giant that was crawling out of the ground and could not help but shake his head. I'm convinced. Reynolds gently raised his right hand and placed his thumb on top of his middle finger. With a snap, he snapped his fingers. Eliminate. As if disturbed, the magma giant's body suddenly trembled. The bright red magma turned into pieces of solidified stone and then shattered into powder. Tessia, I don't want to criticize you, but if you use such a large-scale spell in such a place, not only will you disturb the residents, but if you destroy the arena, what will I do if the principal deducts my salary? Seeing the C-rank magma giant that she had just spent all her mana to summon disappear without a trace, Tessia's mind suddenly became blank. How can this be? The fighting arena had also been destroyed by the appearance of the lava giant. A strong sense of loss welled up in his heart. Don't worry, I will compensate you. Tessia said weakly. You're as poor as I am, and you still want to compensate me? After saying that, Tessia stood up and slowly walked out of the arena. Mana exhaustion would cause the body to temporarily lose all its functions. Suddenly, her legs gave way and she fell forward. Before she lost consciousness, she only remembered a blurry figure catching her and saying, I really don't know what to do with you. Sob, tilde my head is spinning. Slowly opening his eyes, the first thing that entered his eyes was the sunlight that shone through the door and windows into the room. His body was surrounded by a soft and smooth texture, which was very comfortable. This is a dormitory. Avina sat up shakily from the bed, her pair of delicate feet hanging above the floor. There were still traces of tears in the corners of her eyes. Obviously, she had a very comfortable dream. Avina tried hard to recall what happened last night. Oh, right. It's that idiot. The face of a middle-aged man with a wretched appearance appeared in Avina's mind. Blossom. From the other side of the blanket came a series of rubbing sounds. Avina looked at the side of the bed and saw that it was her best friend of many years, 3000 Blossom. Blossom seemed to have felt something and woke up as well. Avina, it's great that you're fine. Blossom saw that Avina had woken up as healthy as usual and immediately rushed over to Avina. She rested her chin on Avina's right shoulder and naturally wrapped her arms around Avina. The sudden warmth warmed Avina's heart, but then she thought of something and whispered to Blossom. Blossom, let me tell you, that Reynolds is a big liar, a big pig head, an idiot. What's wrong, Avina? Are you still asleep? Last night, after Teacher Reynolds carried you back, he specifically told me to let you drink more hot water. How did you become a big pig head? Blossom gently pressed her forehead against Avina's. After making sure that she didn't have a fever, she was relieved. What? He brought me back, and he even carried me? Avina shouted. Do you know what he did? Last night, when I was sparring with him in the practice field, all the magic I used didn't work on him. And Magma Giant, that's a C-grade magic. Normal people can't possibly block it, but he just snapped his fingers and made my Magma Giant disappear. How is that possible? He definitely cheated. Oh, you mean that? Avina put her right index finger on her temple and tilted her head. Perhaps it was because she often did it unintentionally, but it was an extremely cute gesture. I heard from the principal and the head of teaching that Teacher Reynolds can release magic without chanting a spell. What? That's impossible. I've never heard of such a thing. Orina suddenly realized that if it was really as Hanako said, Reynolds could release magic without chanting an incantation, then she might have provoked a very troublesome and dangerous person. No, that's impossible. He must have used some method to deceive everyone. Avina thought so. Thus, Avina thought of many ways, and finally, she thought of a method that she thought would work. TSK, you can't trap a wolf without risking your child. I'm going for broke. Avina steeled her heart and took out the only meal ticket that the canteen provided to the outstanding students every month. She then placed it outside Reynolds's dormitory door, knocked on the door, and quickly ran away. What happened after, I'm sure everyone can guess. Chem? Who dropped this super luxurious meal ticket? No, such a valuable item must be returned to its rightful owner. Then, Reynolds thought carefully, and combined it with the situation in his stomach. Yay, time to eat. After Reynolds ran far away, suddenly, a head popped out from a corner that wasn't easy to spot. Obviously, the bright golden hair had exposed her identity. Just you wait, this time I'm not going to expose your true identity. Avina sneaked into Reynolds's room and saw that it was a room that couldn't be more normal. The magic formation in the room had also been hidden by Reynolds. In the southeast corner of the room, there was a small snoring sound that came out one after another. This gave Avina a big fright. Chapter 606. Oh, it's just a rabbit. Under normal circumstances, our boy would always maintain a body the size of 2 fists, because it was better for sleeping. Looking at how it was hugging a carrot as a pillow, it probably didn't even notice that someone had sneaked into the room. There must be some secret hidden somewhere. Ari Wayner narrowed her eyes and looked around. She wanted to see if there were any confidential documents or the like. That's not right, that's not how it's written in the novel. Unfortunately, up until now, Avina hadn't found the confidential documents she had guessed. Woo-woo. Avina made up her mind again. There's no other way. I'm going all out. Avina touched her pocket and took out a miniature magic camera crystal. It took her a few months of savings to buy it. That's just right. After considering many things, Avina decided to put it in an inconspicuous corner. Hihi, I'll kill you. Hey, Hua Kai, come here. Let me show you something fun. What's wrong, Avina? Look at your wretched expression. Did you do something bad? Ha ha ha, how is that possible? Come here. Oh, I'm coming. Hua Kai had just finished bathing, and her face was still faintly red. Her short purple hair flowed down her cheeks to her collarbone, and when it reached a certain amount, it dripped down. At that moment, she looked very delicate and cute. Look. Avina took out a silver-white crystal the size of a palm. In the middle of it was something like an eyeball with a golden rim. Is this a camera crystal? Or is it the surveillance type? What did you do? Hua Kai suddenly had a bad premonition. Last night, I sent that idiot away with a super luxurious meal ticket, and then snuck in. Here, this is the entire scene of him in the room from last night to this afternoon. You mean? Teacher Reynolds. Hua Kai hurriedly said, Avina, this isn't very good. Hua Kai, your way of thinking isn't quite right. As she spoke, Avina had already moved a machine that could be used to play the images inside the crystal. If he's really fine, that would be the best. But if there's something unspeakable, then we'll have done a great deed. This is still a little inappropriate. There's a chance. Avina had grown up with Hua Kai, and they knew each other's personalities very well. Clearly, Hua Kai's stuttering was enough to show that she was beginning to waver. Ariwana grabbed Blossom's wrist and pulled her over. During the process, Blossom only resisted for a moment, which was exactly what Ariwana thought was a masochist. However, the actual situation in Hua Kai's room was not like that. Perhaps the act of peeking was more often a reflection of one's true inner thoughts. In terms of the room distribution, Avina and Hua Kai shared a room. Avina's room was more simple, and the appliances were more commoner. Although Hua Kai's room was similar to Avina's, most of the furniture was pink and tender like a young girl's. The beds were placed close to each other, which was more conducive to the frequent occurrence of bedding incidents. It's starting. The two of them put the beds together, then turned off the lights and covered themselves with the quilt. Looking at their excited expressions, it felt like they were watching a horror movie. Bye, I'm back. The scene started with Reynolds pushing the door open. The crystal did not let down the few months of pocket money that Avina had scrimped and saved. Not to mention the quality of the image, even the color was 100% restored, and it felt very realistic. After Reynolds pushed the door open, he directly picked up Abai, who was sleeping in the corner. Meow, F***ck, I just had a good dream and you woke me up. Reynolds stroked Abai as he said, Abai, I just picked up a super luxurious meal ticket, and it's the buffet type. What? Avina saw this and immediately panicked. She quickly stood up and touched the pocket of her school uniform. Damn, I gave it to the wrong person. My super luxurious buffet meal ticket. Flowerbloom Ariwana looked at Flowerbloom pitifully like a kitten. Okay, I'll give you another one. Thank you, Hua Kai. Avina quickly kissed Hua Kai's cheek. The video played again. Reynolds suddenly let go of Arbai's arm, and Arbai fell directly to the ground with a plop. Ouch, I fell to my death. What are you doing? Although Arbai was angry, it was afraid to show it, for fear that it would become a lab rat for some experiments. At the same time, the video was paused again. I didn't pay much attention to that rabbit at first, but now that I look at it, it's so cute. That idiot is abusing animals. Yeah, the rabbit is so cute, how could he bear to hurt it? Play. I ate a little too much just now, and then I argued with the cafeteria auntie. I told her that it's a buffet and I can eat until I'm full. In the end, the auntie said that I have Parkinson's disease with my trembling hands. Can't I just hit her a few more times? Sigh, I'm sweating all over, I'm going to take a shower. Avina and Hua Kai were speechless. He actually took my meal ticket to find fault with the auntie. I feel like I've done something wrong. Wait. Shower. The two suddenly realized something, and their faces turned a lot redder. Hua Kai quickly picked up the controller to fast forward, but her face was full of disappointment. She always felt that she would secretly watch it alone when there was no one around. Wait. Avina suddenly felt that something was wrong. Wait a little more, look. As she spoke, she pointed at the screen. Shower. Reynolds happily muttered in a low voice. Oh, right, I almost forgot. Reynolds suddenly realized that he was still in the middle of a middle-aged uncle, and this feeling was very uncomfortable. The difference in vision brought about by the difference in height always felt inexplicably out of place. Transform, he shouted in a somewhat Chunibya manner. A large number of white light spots gathered and gradually surrounded Reynolds, and then suddenly dissipated like leaves blown away by the wind. Reynolds' original appearance was exposed in front of Avina and Hua Kai's eyes. His shoulder-length short hair was slightly curved and hung less than 2 fingers above his shoulders. His sapphire blue eyes emitted a faint light, and it was very seductive like a crystal that had been deposited for thousands of years. His slender fingers, delicate facial features, and tender white skin made it seem like the most perfect form in the depths of their memories had appeared before their eyes. Chapter 607. This is, both of them felt as if they had been hit in the head with a bat. Their thoughts were in a mess. Wait a minute, is this his real face? Or did he transform? I feel like that middle-aged man is the one who transformed. It's just that he's changed back now. Avina wiped the sweat off her forehead. Tizia, you seem to have discovered something amazing this time. As Tizia stared at the woman in the image, she couldn't help but feel a sense of familiarity. The more she looked at her, the more she felt as if she had seen her somewhere before. In fact, there was even a hint of sorrow in this sense of familiarity. He looks so familiar. I feel like I've seen him somewhere before, Avina said. Do you feel the same way? Tizia, you feel the same way too? Yes, I often have the same recurring dream at night. It's the kind of war scene where there are many corpses around. In the dream, there seems to be a person who looks very similar to Teacher Reynolds. I just have this feeling. As long as I'm close to him, I feel very safe and warm. Oh. Do you like him? Avina's joke suddenly made Avina's face turn very red. Her face was like a ripe apple. It was very tempting. No. That's good. How dare he steal Avina's woman? Me. With that, Ariwena pounced on Ariwena's body and began her most common trick, tickling. When they were young, this was the trick she used to bully Ariwena the most. After fooling around for a while, the two of them were naturally tired. Next, they were faced with a very awkward question, whether they should continue watching the video. Shower. This was because Reynolds's room was only a large living room. The toilet was only in a small cubicle. The boundary between the two rooms was a very thin wooden door. Everything that happened inside could be clearly seen from the outside. No, that's against the law. Sigh. Avina sighed. You can read my mind. You know everything I'm thinking. Ariwena stood up and patted the pink pajamas she was wearing. Then, she walked to the video player and took out the camera crystal from it. I'll keep this for now. Oh. Avina nodded subconsciously, then immediately reacted. Wait a minute, are you trying to peek when there's no one around? This, of course not. Then let me take care of it. After saying that, Avina also stood up to snatch the crystal. Since you are so conflicted, why don't you let me take care of it? Suddenly, a third party's voice inexplicably appeared in this room. It was still the same, but it sounded very familiar. Then, Avina suddenly realized that the camera crystal in her hand had disappeared. The two of them broke out in cold sweat. Could it be? Could it be? She turned around and saw that it was their homeroom teacher come victim, Reynolds. I was wondering why there were remnants of your magic in my room. So it was because of this. Reynolds tossed the camera crystal in his hand upwards. So you went to secretly take pictures. Let me see what you took. Reynolds instantly cast a spell on his eyes to facilitate rapid reading. His eyes stared straight at the eyeball-like thing in the middle for about 5 or 6 seconds. Oh, so you saw something you shouldn't have. Reynolds narrowed his eyes, his chin slightly tilted up, revealing a roguish expression. Hey. Avina began to feel a little nervous. I didn't do it on purpose, okay? I was just thinking about the safety of the school. After all, I've never heard of anyone who can release magic without chanting. Mr. Reynolds, I'm sorry. It's our fault. Avina said guiltily. Reynolds silently glanced at the two of them and finally sighed. Sigh, the nature of this kind of thing is very bad, but forget it. It's fine as long as you don't tell anyone. Really? Reynolds's sudden decision to not pursue the matter surprised the two of them. Why? Because you are my students. Reynolds's answer was somewhat perfunctory, but the specific reason was probably only known to him. But on the other hand, you must protect this secret for me. If you tell anyone, you understand. Got it. Perhaps it was because of this experience, Avina also felt that this homeroom teacher was actually not as hateful as she had imagined. Since you already know, I'll tell you something from the bottom of my heart, Reynolds suddenly said in a serious tone. Reynolds walked in front of Ariwena and suddenly raised his hand to pull the front of her clothes. Her white and tender collarbone was completely exposed. What? Ariwena was taken aback by his sudden action. She quickly took a step back and covered her chest with her hands. Her face was flushed with embarrassment. As expected, Reynolds placed his left arm across his abdomen, then placed his right arm on top of it. He held his chin and said slowly, "Hey, Avina, what's with that diamond-shaped mark on you?" "Ah, oh. This is something I have since I was born." "How did you know?" Avina was very sure that Reynolds knew about the existence of this mark, which was why he directly confirmed it. "Nothing." After saying that, Reynolds suddenly waved his hand casually and then dispelled the transformation. The Reynolds who could be called a peerless beauty in the image appeared in front of them, although he was a man. The middle-aged man's body shape was actually very different from Reynolds's body shape, so once he returned to his original appearance, Reynolds always wore a large shirt, which was also a very inconvenient thing. Reynolds sat on the bed wearing a brown shirt that was big enough to fit two of him. "Do you know why I don't want to teach you properly? Isn't it because you're lazy?" Yes. Reynolds nodded subconsciously. "What? Do you know that the peace on the surface of the human world is now coming to an end?" The two of them did not understand. "What I mean is that soon, the human world may experience a catastrophe. At that time, the ones at the forefront will be you group of magicians, which means that your lives will face an unprecedented danger. So, you don't teach us properly because you want to protect us." Avina continued the topic. Chapter 608. What disaster? Avina asked. "That's none of your business." Reynolds paused for a moment and continued, "I've thought about it for a while, and I'll give you two choices." Reynolds stretched out his right index finger. "The first choice is to live peacefully like you are now." He stretched out his left index finger. "The second choice is that I'll teach you seriously, and you'll learn well and die on the battlefield." Two extreme choices were placed in front of the two of them. Avina paused for a moment. "Ever since my hometown was invaded by the demons, I've made up my mind." Avina clenched her left index finger. Avina, on the other hand, seemed to be a little hesitant. "Teacher, no matter what choice it is, will you be with us?" "Not necessarily. Just follow your heart." Avina was a little hesitant. She turned to look at the determined Avina, and the latter nodded at her with a rather serious expression. "Yes. I've decided." Avina clenched her left index finger. Very good. I respect your decision. From tomorrow onwards, we'll begin high-intensity training." "Really?" Avina said excitedly. "By the way, it's said that the sacred sword dance is about to begin." The sacred sword dance was the most popular competition among all the human competitions held once every 10 years. It wasn't like a ball game. It was a super large-scale magic competition composed entirely of mags. Moreover, the champion would have the opportunity to meet the guardian deity of the human race, the sacred sword. If the champion could obtain its approval, then the champion would become the master of the sacred sword. After many years of accumulation, this 30-day competition had evolved into the grandest festival of the human race. Because the sacred sword dance took a long time, its scale was huge, and it had a strong symbolic meaning. In order to ensure that the competition was highly enjoyable and had the function of selecting talents, it was generally necessary to have intense regional selection competitions first. Then, the top 3 of each region would gather at the main venue to compete. Although Styganti was the largest city in the vicinity, it wasn't the largest city in the region. The Holy Sword Dance was usually hosted by the largest city in the region. This way, not only could it provide the most perfect facilities and services, it could also provide the largest venue to accommodate the largest audience. It could be said to be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And the host was the human emperor. As I said before, this time, the arena of our Jedong region is located in the northwest of us. This Jedong city is also known as Huacheng. Legend has it that the giant dragon once slaughtered here, causing a continuous fire that stretched for thousands of miles. In the end, it was suppressed by the brave with the holy sword. After countless generations of efforts, it finally became the largest city in the Jedong region, famous for its delicious food. Reynolds stood at the front of the podium of the wave-treading forward class, wagging his finger as he spoke. "Sigh, I'm really not familiar with the words I memorized last night." It had been many days since the time he had a private chat with Tizia and Avina in the dormitory. Since then, Reynolds began to change his teaching method. Furthermore, he made such a suggestion to Monsieur. If we teach the students to work for us, then wouldn't we have more confidence? This was an excuse that even Reynolds didn't believe, but Monsieur actually believed in it. This was really surprising. By the way, the matter of Tizia's hometown being massacred by the demons that Reynolds asked Monsieur to investigate had already been investigated. The truth was, it was fake. However, the massacring of the village was true, but it wasn't done by the demons. There wasn't any aura of the demons at the scene of the incident. Even though many years had passed, this kind of aura couldn't have completely disappeared. Therefore, according to the deduction of Monsieur's profession as an investigator, it was definitely not done by the demons. This time, there will be a total of 7 schools competing for the top 3 places in our Jiedong region. However, to us, there are only 2 schools that are worthy of our attention. They are the local Baihua Heavenly Magic Academy and Yarolong Tianxiao Magic Academy. Please remember, our goal is to be number 1. In the past few days, Reynolds had gotten along well with the students. The sudden change in their homeroom teacher also surprised the students. Sigh, what's going on? It feels like he's changed into a different person. Yes. Not only is the class very good, but it's also very fun. I feel like a child. Reynolds looked at the name list in his hand and said with a serious face, without a doubt, our school will definitely send out the elite of the elites, Wave Treader. According to the requirements of the competition, we should have a class internal battle to choose 3 contestants. Then, let's start the competition in the afternoon. Who wants to sign up? Teacher, are there no substitutes? No. Generally, there are 3 people in a team on the battlefield. It's impossible to have extra people to help you. Therefore, no matter who enters the final 3, you must take good care of your body. Don't be unable to compete because you're sick. Sigh, teacher also said that when I was young, is there anyone who wants to sign up? As for the registration of the contestants, Reynolds gave full authority to Tisa. As for himself, he was only responsible for teaching the class and did not care about anything else. As for the contestants, Reynolds had actually made some guesses. The 2 male students in the class were not particularly strong. One of them was especially good at theory, and the other was especially good at survival in the wild. Therefore, they were excluded. Among the remaining 7 contestants, Tisa and Avina would definitely take up 2 of the spots. As for the last spot, Reynolds had also made some calculations. It should be a girl named Natalia who would obtain it. As the homeroom teacher, Reynolds paid a lot of attention to this girl. Natalia was very quiet in class. She was very quiet and always kept to herself. However, her entrance exam results were very good. Moreover, she was a rare beauty. She had long black hair, black eyes, and even her clothes were all black. She belonged to the type that was especially cold and aloof. What was worth noting was that she was born in a noble family. However, just 12 years ago, her family met with an accident, and since then, her family had fallen into decline and became an orphan. Tilda, this is very troublesome, Reynolds slowly said as he held Natalia's file. Darkness devours the day, and eternal night will eventually descend. The vengeful spirits buried underground will endlessly roar. Awaken, vengeful spirits. Chapter 609. The battle between Natalia and Avina quickly came to an end. Of course, they both won. Natalia's skill level far surpassed most of her peers, and Avina wasn't doing too bad either. Although her opponent was rather difficult to deal with, she still won easily. Her opponent was Natalia, one of Renault's main targets. Natalia was using an extremely rare type of magic, undead magic. In fact, it was so rare that it could be said to be one of a kind. Undead magic, as its name implied, could summon undead and cast curse-type magic. Undead magic could only be used when paired with a darkness-type physique. Natalia is so strong, but she's a little too cold, Natalia commented as she watched the battle from the side. After she finished chanting the incantation, 2 or 3 dark grey bricks in the training ground began to tremble slightly. Following that, 3 zombie-like creatures the size of an adult crawled out. Their appearances were similar to what was described in most books. They had slightly green skin, slanted heads, and long tongues sticking out of their mouths. Saliva kept dripping down from their mouths. It seemed like they were slightly poisonous. Her opponent was another student in her class. Her name was Ying, and her strength was above average. She was also quite outstanding. The three zombies were slightly different from each other. The fat one was holding an axe. It seemed like it had high attack and defense. The skinny one seemed to be quite agile. The last one had sparks coming out of its mouth. It seemed like it knew how to cast simple magic. TSK, so troublesome. Ying glanced at Natalia from the corner of her eye. However, she discovered that Natalia's eyes were empty, as if she didn't care about her at all. No one has ever looked at me like that since I was young. Damn it, looking down on me just because you're a little strong. Watch me. Wind sword dance, silver sword stabs. A large amount of wind elemental energy gathered and intersected with each other. They instantly stopped mixing and formed hundreds of needles the size of branches floating in the air. Go. After the order was given, all the thin needles rushed towards Natalia. The whooshing sound of the needles breaking through the air was very ear-piercing to the ears of others. The thin needles were so fast that it was difficult to see them with the naked eye. Teacher, who do you think is stronger, Ying or Natalia? Avina tilted her head and asked. Well, I wasn't too sure before, but now I know. Reno purposely kept her in suspense. Let me test you. Who do you think will win? Well, although I'm close to Ying and hope that she wins, looking at the current situation, I think Natalia will win. Ari Wenner turned her head and shifted her gaze from Reynolds to the arena. Natalia seemed to be very calm in the face of hundreds of thin thorns. She didn't even look at it. Natalia waved her hand, and the fat zombie slowly stepped forward and used its body to block the thin thorns. Sure enough, the fat zombie's defense was amazing. The thin thorns only left a little white mark on its skin. It was as if a rock had been gently smashed into an ice cube. It was completely useless. Look. Up until now, Natalia has already grasped the rhythm of the battle. Ying's skills are very fast, but their power is far from enough. As for Natalia, she has only used one skill so far. Just this skill alone is enough to both attack and defend. Even if she can't win, she can still fight back. It's almost certain that she'll win. Oh, as expected of teacher. Yeah. Keep a low profile, keep a low profile. Don't say it out loud. Dark curse, earthbind. As soon as the forward message was spoken, a dark black curse slowly floated out from Natalia's mouth. It then rushed towards Sakura along the bricks. Meanwhile, Sakura was also engaged in hand-to-hand combat with the three zombies summoned by Natalia. Although Sakura knew that it was useless to just defeat the puppets, she had to defeat the caster to win some time to breathe. However, the individual strength of the zombies was also quite good, and they could not free themselves to deal with Natalia. The dark curses attached themselves to Ying while she was distracted dealing with the zombies. What's this? Facing the fat zombie's fierce attacks, Ying suddenly realized that she couldn't move at all. She couldn't even shout out the words surrender or help. Wait, that's... The moment the axe swung at her, Ying realized that Natalia was finally looking at her. Wait, why is she looking at me like that? Is she gloating, happy, satisfied? Ying felt like she saw an extremely disgusting expression. Monster, monster, monster. Unfortunately, that was all she could say with all her might. Monster? Heh, sure, I'm a monster. I was, and will be a monster in the future. Ha 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 ha. Natalia's words made everyone's hair stand on end. Hey. She really wants to kill her. Reynolds watched from below the stage as the fat zombie continued to swing his axe. Logically speaking, as long as one side didn't admit defeat, the other side had the right to attack. However, the outcome of this match was already obvious. There was no need to attack at all. Is it over? Ying watched as the fat zombie swung the millstone-sized axe at her head. She could almost see what would happen in 3 seconds. Her head would be separated from her body. Enough. As soon as Reynolds yelled, Natalia felt that her connection with the zombies was suddenly cut off. The zombies that had lost control were like puppets without strings, unable to move at all. The fat zombie's movements were also frozen at the moment it raised its axe and swung it backward. The outcome has been decided. Natalia is the winner. Reno walked onto the stage and dispelled Natalia's binding magic. He then hinted at Avina with his eyes, indicating for her to send Ying back to rest. Avina instantly understood Reno's intentions. She walked up to Ying and patted her on the back to comfort her. The selection is now over. Representing our school in the sacred sword dance will be Natalia, Avina, and Natalia. Today's class will end here. Everyone, please go back and rest. Luckily, the students didn't realize the severity of the situation just now. Otherwise, it would have been troublesome. After the students all returned to their dorms, Reno specially told Avina to remind Ying not to overthink things. What about Natalia? Sigh, I have to do some brainwashing again. Sometimes, reality and imagination were always at odds with each other. Reynolds had a deep feeling about this. The decorations in the room were different from what Reno had imagined. In his imagination, Natalia's room should be clean and fragrant, but, in reality, Chapter 610. Hey, 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 why is your room so messy? Why are snacks all over the floor? Why are your socks covered with potato chips? Hey, what's this? Reynolds squatted down and picked up something that almost tripped him. What's this? A white, mottled thing appeared in front of him. I say, this isn't your panties, is it? Natalia blinked. Hey. Reynolds threw the panties at her face. Can't you clean it up? Natalia was indifferent. Sigh. Reynolds sighed. You win. Tell me, why did you want to kill Ying? I don't remember that she had any grudges with you. Natalia put down her right hand that was eating potato chips and said slowly, because she bullied me. Hey, 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 who's the bully here? Because she called me a monster. Reynolds carefully recalled the details of that time, and with the things that he had asked Monsieur to investigate previously, he made a guess. 12 years ago. Natalia's eyes suddenly became fearful. You went out with your family to play, but something happened that caused your parents to leave, and then you were ostracized by your friends. No. To be precise, you subconsciously started to isolate yourself from the outside world. Gradually, you felt that everyone was despising you, betraying you, and even spurning you. So, you wanted to take revenge, right? Natalia was silent, but she still said slowly, My matters are none of your business. Reynolds bent down and stroked Natalia's hair. Don't worry, no one bullied you. I also told Ying that it was caused by your poor control of magic, and she believed me, and Reynolds revealed a very gentle smile. She even asked me to apologize on her behalf. Reynolds stood up and walked to the side. Cough. Cough. He intended to imitate Ying's tone at that time. Mr. Reynolds, can you apologize to Natalia for me? That time when I called her a monster, I said it subconsciously. Is that okay? Reynolds thought that his performance was perfect throughout the whole process. It was so vivid that it couldn't be any more vivid. His confident face was directly revealed. How is it? Do you feel better? It seems to be getting worse. All right. Enough joking. Reynolds changed into a serious expression. No matter what, I hope that you, Avina, and Natalia will be able to receive my training. As for the others, I will temporarily hand them over to the Dean of Teaching. Is it okay if we win the regional tournament in Jedong? Natalia thought for a moment and nodded. Very well, then I'll leave first. Reynolds patted his clothes. Oh, right. I'll get Avina and Natalia to help you clean up. After going out, Reynolds silently sorted out Natalia's information in his mind. Is it loneliness caused by childhood trauma? Nook. The next morning, according to the school's requirements and training plan, Reynolds took Natalia, Avina, and Natalia to the designated training location under the condition that no one objected. Carriages could be said to be relatively backward in this era. With the continuous development of magic, There would always be new types of transportation to replace the backward ones. Because it's cheap, idiot. It's only 5 copper coins, damn it. Reynolds was so stingy. The carriage was the kind that was very common. It was a very simple room built of wood, and there was even a slight moldy smell. As for the breed of the horse, there was no need to think that it was so high-end. With the budget approved by the school, Reynolds had already planned to invest most of the funds into food and accommodation. Teacher, where are we going? You'll know in a while. We're already in the wilderness. With this lousy carriage, I'm starting to worry about our upcoming training. The Jedong region selection this time is called the 7 Schools Leap Battle. I've been so busy recently, analyzing that team, analyzing this team, and so on. I'm almost exhausted. How can I have time to find good transportation for you? Please understand. Oh, you're indeed Teacher Reynolds. You've worked hard. That was the attitude of Avina and Natalia. Teacher, there are no outsiders here, and we're not in class. You can just say that you're going to buy more food. Hey, this girl. Natalia, how did you know? You don't know. Our teacher Reynolds is famous in the cafeteria at Auntie Liu's place. Natalia wiped her nose after saying that, showing a very proud expression. Hey, Tilda, what's the use of knowing more than others? For breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're the first to arrive and the last to leave every day. The amount of food you eat is enough for 5 people. I don't know why you don't gain weight and are still so good-looking, Natalia said while shaking her right index finger slowly. However, she said the last few words very softly. She's jealous. Ah, who's good-looking? Where, little sister? Reynolds suddenly stuck his head out of the window. It's you. Lemmy just said that you're very beautiful. Did I? When did you say that? Why didn't I hear it? Even if I did, it's called handsome. After Reynolds said that, he suddenly felt that the atmosphere was a little strange. He realized that the other 3 people in the carriage were all staring at him at the same time. It was obviously a little awkward. Forget it. Reynolds immediately removed his uncle's disguise and revealed his original appearance. Wow, Tilda, oh. Avina directly cried out. Me. Natalia turned her head, but her little eyes still peeked here from time to time. On Natalia's side, it was a little strange. This mysterious pressure. What is it? Natalia grabbed her collar with both hands and suddenly looked a little uncomfortable. Ha. She took deep breaths in an attempt to calm herself down. What's the matter, Natalia? Are you all right? Avina saw that Natalia was suddenly in pain, and hurriedly went up to her to calm her down. Hey. What should I do? Natalia was at her wit's end. It's fine, we're all here. Take a deep breath. Yes, that's it, just close your eyes and sleep. In a daze, Natalia's aching head gradually eased, but there was an indescribable warmth in her heart. Chapter 6:11. After saying that reluctantly, Natalia fell asleep. Seeing this scene, Reynolds suddenly laughed. Phut, so that's how it is. After laughing, Reynolds suddenly showed a very peaceful smile and reached out to touch the little head of Natalia who was sleeping in Avina's arms. Child. You've worked hard. Hey, Avina. What's wrong, teacher? I'm giving you a task now. Can you promise me that you can objectively complete it? Although she didn't know what her teacher meant, her intuition told Avina to agree without hesitation. Yes. Very good. I hope that in the next few days, no matter what happens, you can help me take good care of Natalia and Natalia, my 2 children. Hey, I can take good care of myself, okay? Natalia complained, but when she saw Reynolds's serious expression, she suddenly stopped talking. Okay, I'll shut up. Teacher, don't worry. No matter what happens, I'll definitely take good care of them. Yes, me too. Including you. Oh, my head is so dizzy. Natalia opened her eyes in a daze, and an instant of dizziness rushed to her head. It was like a hangover the next day. She felt particularly uncomfortable, but at least she seemed to have had an unprecedented dream, so it was not a big deal. Natalia, are you okay? What happened to you just now? Avina asked anxiously. Nothing, just when I saw Teacher Reynolds just now, I don't know why I suddenly felt oppressed, and I felt that it was difficult to breathe. Don't tell me you've fallen in love with him. Natalia ridiculed. Natalia. Avina called her with some dissatisfaction. Okay, I'm sorry, it's my fault. Although Natalia was joking, it was obvious that she cared about Natalia very much. Natalia, are you okay? It's such a hot day. You must have a heat stroke. Drink more water to lower your body temperature. Reynolds planned to fabricate the cause of Natalia's headache. That's impossible. We've been resting in the car the whole time. Besides, we were just talking. It's impossible for us to get heat stroke. Natalia, you chatterbox. That means you didn't rest well and are a little tired. That's normal. That's even more impossible. Last night, Avina and I cleaned up Natalia's room and waited for her to fall asleep before we left. Are you her mother? Do you still want to sing a lullaby? Reynolds was speechless. Teacher, how did you get rid of my zombie magic? Natalia suddenly asked. Oh, that's easy. Reynolds took the opportunity to change the topic. Yes. And how did you make my lava giant disappear? Well done, Natalia. It's actually very simple. You just have to observe the magic formation you've released, and then use an interference spell to make it operate in the opposite direction at the same speed. As expected of Teacher Reynolds. Although I don't understand, it feels so amazing. Sigh, you're so stupid. I can only explain it to you from the beginning. We magicians release magic. First of all, we have to mobilize the magic particles outside our body, which is the magic power of nature. Then, we have to regulate the magic power inside our body so that it reaches a certain balance with the magic power outside our body. Finally, we can make it materialize through incantation. Hey, what's with your expressions? Don't you know such basic things? What? We've never heard of these things you're talking about. Where did you learn them from? Teacher Reynolds, I don't know either. Natalia, who was sitting at the side, also nodded, indicating that she agreed with Reynolds. You're so stupid. Oh. Reynolds suddenly thought of something. Are you too ignorant? Are you playing with us again? No. Reynolds hurriedly objected to Natalia's point of view. Actually, it's normal that you don't know. Have you heard of creation research? Creation research? Avina shook her head. Never heard of it. Creation research is actually the study of magic. It analyzes magic particles, the structure of the human body, and so on to create new magic. And this study is already a strategic resource for you humans. It should have been monopolized by the royal family. The new information was like a brand new key that opened up a new understanding of magic for the three of them. Their previous concept of simply releasing magic had also changed a little. In short, at this moment, they had embarked on a path of no return. Of course, this was a story for another time. In other words, Teacher Reynolds, do you know anything about creation research? I do. Then can you teach us? Hey, don't look at me like that, okay? It's very tiring. Looking at Avina's big eyes looking at him, the crystal blue of her left eye and the light blue of her right eye were really tempting. Looking at Natalia next to her, she seemed to be in a daze as usual, but if one looked closely, one would notice that Natalia's body was actually slightly closer to Reynolds than before, and her ears were moving up and down slightly. Oh, okay then, Reynolds said. Then I'll also. Natalia hurriedly said. But Natalia can't. Why? There's no why, I just can't. This is for your own good. If you don't want to teach me, then don't teach me. I don't care. Although that was what she said, Natalia was actually a little angry at Reynolds' favoritism. Perhaps there was a reason why he didn't want to teach her, but she was still a little angry. Okay, I can teach you something else, such as more powerful magic or something like that. Okay, don't pout, you're going to become ugly. Reynolds comforted her. Me. Natalia, that's enough. Teacher Reynolds must have his own reasons for not teaching you. Don't be angry. Me. Natalia turned her head and ignored the others. The speed of the carriage wasn't considered fast, but thanks to the shabby appearance of the carriage, it was considered safe along the way, and they didn't encounter any bandits' ambushes. Not far ahead, there was a small town. It looked about the same size as Wildflower Village. The houses made of khaki-colored bricks gave off a faint earthy fragrance. The architectural style was also very unique. The roof was not like most houses that protruded upward. Instead, it was a bit like a ball with the bottom half of the roof concave. We're here, we're here. Look. Reynolds stuck his head out of the window and pointed in the direction of the carriage with his white and tender finger. Look, this is the place where we'll eat and live for the next week, Hung Hung Village. Chapter 6:12. Everyone followed Reynolds's line of sight and found that this so-called Wung village was located in the depths of the mountains. The location was very remote, and there was only one main road to and from. It could be said that it was isolated from the rest of the world. Teacher, why did we come here? We are only going to eat and live here, but the specific training location is not here. Look. Reynolds used his index finger to point at the forest beside the village. We are going to train in the forest. The carriage arrived at Wung village in a short while. Just like what Reynolds had booked previously, he used the funds approved by the school to buy a piece of land here. As for the price, because Wung village's geographical location was really too remote, when Reynolds proposed to buy the land, the locals were very willing to sell it at a lower price. This way, both parties, especially the greedy Reynolds, would not be embarrassed. Teacher, why did you bring us to this place full of weeds? Avina looked at the weeds on the ground and suddenly had a playful feeling. She directly took off her shoes and jumped into the grass to roll around. Her dark purple hair looked especially beautiful with the green grass. Her 10 jade-like toes left footprints one after another, and her bell-like laughter could be heard endlessly. It was as if she had really returned to her childhood. Avina, is it really that fun? Of course, the scenery here is really beautiful. This is a fairy tale in a girl's dream. There are bugs, Tilda are. Where are they? Avina immediately stood up and patted her body. She looked left and right, and her face was full of anxiety. Woo-woo, Tilda, bugs. So disgusting. Ha ha ha, this is really fun. Reynolds laughed out loud. All right, I am just kidding. I have already cleaned up this place before. Not to mention bugs, there is not even a single weed, so, teacher, there is a weed here. Natalia discovered it and said. So, you guys can just stay here peacefully. Hey, don't ignore me. Teacher, there is only scenery here. Where is the house? Also, Natalia, you are very noisy. Woo-woo, Tilda, Avina actually despises me. House, very simple. Let's build it now. Get out of my way. Reynolds walked to the front and used his finger to roughly measure an area. This size is fine. Lilith, Avina, didn't you want to study creation research? Look closely. This is a super practical spell that I developed myself. Reynolds took a deep breath, and in the blink of an eye, he gathered a large amount of yellow and green magic particles on his hands. He then half-knelt on the grass and placed his palms directly on the ground. Earth-bonding spell. A huge roar came from the depths of the earth, and the surroundings began to shake violently, as if a ferocious beast had awakened. Surprisingly, a luxurious wooden house rose from the ground at the place Reynolds had pointed out with his hand. Whether it was the architectural style or the furniture specifications, they were all of top-notch quality, absolutely impeccable. You will be training very hard from now on. However, warriors do not fight unprepared battles, so I hope that I can provide you with the best in other aspects. Of course, the most important thing is that building a house with magic doesn't cost money. Faced with such a good accommodation, the three of them were suddenly filled with anticipation for the upcoming training. Even the taciturn Lilith revealed a faint look of yearning. Gather here at 7 o'clock sharp tomorrow morning. You are not allowed to be late. Reynolds waved his hand. Dismissed. I'm so sleepy. Reynolds walked with heavy steps to the newly built door. The dark circles under his eyes had already revealed his deep sleepiness. This was a relatively remote corner of Hum Wung village, so Reynolds simply did not bother to disguise himself with a transformation spell, and directly used his original appearance. This allowed Natalia, Avina, and Lilith to enjoy a lot of eye candy. When he opened the door, he found that everyone was already waiting for him outside, and seemed a little impatient. "You guys are here so early." Reynolds had a premonition that something was wrong, and asked tentatively, "Hey, do you know what time it is now? It's already 1.5 hours past the 7 o'clock you set." "Hey, don't tell me you didn't sleep," Natalia said in dissatisfaction, but then found that Reynolds' condition was a little strange, so she did not say anything more. "It's okay, I slept for a while. Come, follow me." Reynolds led everyone to a large, circular open space surrounded by a forest that was filled with a dense aura of magic particles. The air was also clear and cool. It was a grade higher than the other places they had been in. There were also 3 large wooden stakes in the middle of the open space. They looked like 300-year-old trees that had been directly cut down the middle and left there. It was perfect for training. In order to cater to the name of going out for training, Reynolds deliberately put on the adventurer's suit that he had escaped from the magic palace to set off the atmosphere. "Natalia, do you want to walk the path of a magic sword, magic swordsman?" "Yes." Reynolds lowered his head slightly, and his right index finger touched the area below his nose. "Actually, at present, your combat level is actually enough for you to look down on the heroes among your peers, but it's still far from enough." Reynolds raised his hand and instantly used white magic particles to construct a very detailed diagram of the human body structure. Whether it was the arrangement of the bones or the rhythm of the stretching of the muscles, they were all very clear. The human body actually has a limit. No matter how the body is trained, it can only increase the limit to a certain extent, but this is only one aspect. "What, one aspect?" Natalia asked with some doubts. "Usually, you train yourself through running, swinging a sword, or something like that, right?" "Yes." "Your positive attitude is very praiseworthy, but the method is not suitable for you." Reynolds put his hands behind his back, and pretended to be an old man as he continued, "You know the effect of ordinary training, so I won't say more. Have you ever thought of using magic to train?" "What does that mean?" "It means to integrate the magic particles in the air into your body, and then use it to make your body cells more active, and greatly enhance your perception of the magic particles." Stop, stop, stop. "Can't you make it simpler?" "I knew it. It's like a piece of meat. If you keep boiling it with water, it will definitely be edible in the end, but now you add a lot of spices. Think about it, can the taste be the same?" Chapter 613. "Oh, I get it." Natalia was enlightened. "Alright, that's it then. What magic particles do you use to train? Then you have to understand that the process will be very painful." "It's okay, I'm not afraid." Reynolds finally nodded as if he had made up his mind. He gently stroked the golden hair on Natalia's head with his right hand, revealing one of his rare serious sides. "Okay." Then he bent his arm and pulled Natalia's delicate face directly in front of him. They were so close that they could even breathe on each other's lips. Wait. Natalia seemed to be lost in her thoughts. Both Iwina and Natalia blushed at the sight of this scene. "Teacher. Woo tilde woo. Don't move," Reynolds shouted. "Okay." Natalia replied proudly. Reynolds used the back of his hand to lift Natalia's bangs that were in the way, and then pressed his forehead against hers. Natalia's face turned red from excessive nervousness. A faint golden light appeared at the place where they touched, forming a flowing golden brilliance that flowed into Natalia's brain. "This is all my memory about magic particles training the body. Take it and think about it yourself." "Okay. Come here." Reynolds let go of Natalia's little head and waved his hand, indicating for her to follow him. The two walked to the bottom of a tree stump and jumped up. The tree stump was very tall, and a height of 1 or 2 meters was enough to broaden their field of vision. Reynolds engraved a magic circle on the back of Natalia's hand to strengthen her senses. The rest was for Natalia to use the memory fragments to constantly feel the magic particles, then introduce them into her body to train the strength of her cells. Of course, She would have to endure unbearable pain during the process. Natalia walked to the center of the tree stump and sat cross-legged. Following Reynolds's guidance, she gradually closed her eyes and quietly felt the pulse of nature. Magic particles originate from the most essential essence of nature. There's fire, wood, water, and space. Feel it quietly and calm your heart. It's everywhere. It's flickering with light, but it also gathers a huge amount of power. Finally, after Reynolds's guidance, Natalia finally got the hang of it, and successfully introduced some fire elemental magical particles into her body. Oh my God, are you stupid? I spent so much effort to train to this level. How long has it been since I said something so arrogant? I'm so disgusted by myself. Avina, come here. Reynolds jumped down from the tree stump, leaving Natalia alone. Hearing this, Avina hurriedly ran over. Her dark purple hair couldn't hide the blush on her face at all. Her mind was now full of the meeting between Reynolds and Natalia just now. Avina, why is your face so red? Reynolds asked in confusion. Ah, no, nothing. I ate too much chili just now. Yes, that's it. Oh, is that so? Reynolds paused. I often eat chili too. Yes, I can understand. Oh, Avina breathed a sigh of relief. Come here, let me see your eyes. Avina's face suddenly became even redder, just like red paint. Luckily, Natalia was cultivating on the other side, or she would definitely use this opportunity to tease Avina to death. Reynolds walked to Avina's side and leaned his face closer to stare at Avina's heterochromatic pupils. The crystal blue in the left eye and the light blue in the right eye were especially cute, and there were some veins in the pupils that were difficult to see clearly. Reynolds used his thumb to hold Avina's lower eyelid, and his index finger to touch her upper eyelid back and forth. He didn't notice Avina's strange state of shyness at all. In other people's eyes, perhaps Avina was making a face at Reynolds. Is that really the case? Reynolds withdrew his hand and thought for a while. Well, if that's the case, did your family tell you about heterochromatic pupils? No. Avina shook her head. Come here. Reynolds led Avina to a remote place, afraid that their next conversation would be overheard by others. Go back and pack your things later. Take a day off tomorrow, then go home and let your parents teach you how to use heterochromatic pupils. Try to rush back before the 7-school leap. But my parents said before that I'm not allowed to practice heterochromatic pupils. Don't worry, give this to them. As he spoke, Reynolds found something that looked like a badge from somewhere and handed it to Avina. They'll definitely teach you after seeing it. Oh, what's this? It's so magical. I begged them for so long, but they didn't teach me. Although that was what she thought, Avina was a sensible child. She knew what to ask and what not to ask, so she didn't ask. Heterochromatic pupils generally have 2 abilities, and it varies from person to person. When you go back, you must keep in close contact with me. I'll give you a contact crystal later. If you have any questions, you can contact me. Teacher, can't you teach me? I don't want to leave you guys. Silly child, it's not like you won't see each other again. It's just a few days, why can't you bear to part with me? Well, I'll listen to you then. After persuading Avina with all his might, Reynolds followed the procedure and found Natalia. In fact, Natalia had always been a headache for Reynolds. Of course, it wasn't entirely because of her unsociable personality, but mainly because of some other reasons. Natalia, come out tonight. I want to ask you something. Natalia nodded. Oh, it's so comfortable. Tizia walked out of the bathroom barefoot. A large white bath towel was wrapped around her body. Plump water droplets dripped down along her collarbone, making a patter sound. It was very seductive. Avina, you said that idiot asked you to go home to learn. No, he asked me to go home and ask my parents to teach me how to use heterochromatic pupils. Well, although it's almost the same as going home to learn, it still means something. Avina sat on the bed and said, You said that heterochromatic pupils are a unique attribute passed down in our family for generations. This is a top secret. How did that idiot know so much about it? Even I don't know about it. As Tizia was taken in by the 3,000 families since she was young, she knew a lot about heterochromatic pupils. However, the most important secret was that there was a shocking secret behind heterochromatic pupils. Chapter 6:14. I haven't seen Uncle and Auntie for a long time. Why don't I go back too? But Mr. Renault specifically told me not to let you go back. Bam! How about this? I'll go talk to him. Wait, before Avina could finish her sentence, Tizia had already run out of the room. Tizia had no choice but to follow her. Renault's room was still one floor above theirs. It only took them a few steps to reach his room. As usual, Tizia pushed the door open and entered the room. Don't ask why she didn't lock the door. It was very simple. She either forgot to lock it or was too lazy to do so. The size of the room was undoubtedly a perfect replica of Renault's bedroom in the Demon Palace, Cartha. A large and round bed was placed in the middle of the room. On the far left, there was a slightly dark brown desk. The standard of the room was much higher. Gosh, it's really hard for him to live in the school dormitory. Just as she lifted her foot, before she could even step on the ground, Tizia felt Aurina tugging at her from behind with a shiver. Tizia, there's no one in this room, right? Ariwana said stiffly. It should be. Oh, I remember now. Didn't that idiot say that he had something to talk to Natalia about? He should have gone over by now. Then, why are there still sounds coming from the room? Let me listen. Tizia turned her head and pointed her right ear at the corridor. Indeed, there were some dripping sounds coming from the other side. It sounds a little scary. Tizia also felt a little scared. Then, let's go back. You see, I even boiled some water when I came out. If we don't go back now, the water will dry up. Let's go. Avina was about to cry as she begged. No, Avina, fear is a very big stumbling block on the road of life. We can only succeed by overcoming it and defeating it. Tizia put her hands on Avina's shoulders. Let's go. Let's walk towards success together. Tizia, did you take the wrong medicine? No, I just want to help you overcome your fear of ghosts as your good friend. What? Last time when we were watching a horror movie, I wonder who screamed the loudest. Also, do you think I don't know that you want to go in and take away all of Teacher Reynolds's snacks? Isn't it just that the gluttony of eating worms has surpassed the fear now? Alright, I'll accompany you. Let's go. Hey Tilda, hey, how did you know about my plan? Also, why was the persona reversed now? The two of them groped their way forward in the darkness. Although Tizia could use light magic to create some light, it would be very easy for them to be exposed. If Reynolds suddenly came back, it would be difficult to explain. Both of them were in a situation where they didn't dare to speak. It would be fine if they misheard the terrifying thing that they heard before, but if it wasn't, that. Avina, let's go back. I don't want to eat anymore, okay? Tizia grabbed Avina's arm and said. No, I must overcome your fear of ghosts today. Hey Tilda, hey, you're rebelling, really rebelling. Persona and whatnot. Avina, don't you feel that there's a pattern to this strange sound? Woo, I feel like I've heard it somewhere before. Really? Why haven't I heard it before? On the other side, Avina seemed to be answering Tizia's question seriously. However, her mind wasn't actually there. Although her family didn't teach her the method to control her heterochromatic pupils, she could still control the passive ability that was given to her. Night vision. It was this passive ability. Of course, it was controllable. Avina didn't even tell Tizia this little secret. Oh Tilda, so Teacher Reynolds likes this kind of decoration. Avina's focus seemed to be a little off track. Avina suddenly ran to the side of the wardrobe and picked up a fluffy shirt. Rabbit pajamas. Suddenly, the image of Reynolds wearing this pajamas appeared in her mind. So cute. Avina. WW, where are you? Why did you suddenly run away? Tizia shrunk her head and said with a trembling voice. Oh Tilda, I tripped just now. Ha ha. The two of them walked a few more steps and finally, after 10 minutes, they arrived at the bedroom-cum-living room. Sigh, it was mainly because the person with the 3 words in her name was dragging things out. Ah! Tizia screamed. What's wrong? Tizia? I think I caught something. It's fluffy, it's all meat when I pinch it, and it seems to be breathing. Utilda Ravina felt like she was about to cry when she heard Tizia's tone. She hurriedly used her night vision to look at the thing in Avina's hand. Click. The whole room lit up as if it was daytime. See for yourself what it is. Avina subconsciously closed her eyes when she saw the bright light. I don't want to see, it's disgusting. Hey! Give it to me. Avina opened her hands and took the thing from Avina. Good. What the hell? Hearing that Avina was playing with the thing as if she was coaxing a child, Avina suddenly became curious. She slowly opened her eyes and looked at the world like a newborn child. So it's this rabbit. I don't know what it's shouting about, I thought it was something else. Sigh, don't mention it. Previously, when I went to his dormitory to hide the surveillance crystal, this rabbit was lying there and sleeping. Oh, I remember it now. I've seen it in the video before, it's so cute. Avina kept stroking it. Look at its cheeks, why are they so red? Avina moved her nose closer and sniffed. What a strong smell of alcohol. Don't tell me it's drunk. Avina also sniffed it. It's true. How could our teacher let an animal drink alcohol? At the same time. Achoo. The bunny wobbled down from Avina's arm and crawled back to where it was sleeping. Reynolds, you idiot. You're shameless and obscene. You didn't even bring me along when you came out to eat. Don't let me see you. Be careful, burp. Be careful, I'll beat you to death. Avina suddenly didn't understand what was happening in front of them. This rabbit spoke? Natalia, I'm going to eat all your snacks today. You don't need the alcohol that I specially went to the town for. Hehe, then I'll frame all the crimes on those 3 little girls. Hey Tilda. Chapter 6:15. Oh my god, Avina. Why are the rabbit's eyes turning in circles? Also, why can a rabbit talk? Wait a minute, I think we don't need to pursue these 2 questions. The girls it was talking about were us, right? Oh, I almost forgot. I think so. Avina suddenly reacted. The 2 of them looked at each other at the same time and nodded to each other, as if they had reached some kind of agreement in silence. Avina walked to Natalia's side and used the tip of her foot to lightly kick it, who had just fallen asleep. Hey Tilda, wake up. Wake up. Sure enough, it was like a sow, unable to even make a sound. Life-filling, water bullet. Avina shouted a mini version of a water magic spell, and in the blink of an eye, a fist-sized water ball formed about 1 meter above Natalia's head. Fall. With a command, the small water bullet fell directly, and with a bang, it hit Natalia's head, causing a huge splash. What's going on? Earthquake, help. The sudden water bullet directly pulled Natalia out of her drunken state. She sat up with her 2 hind legs, and then her eyes widened. Oh my god. Why is it these 2 girls? Natalia stood up in a daze and quietly moved behind the curtain under the 2's gaze. Can't see me. Can't see me. Stop hiding, I'm talking about you. That's right, stupid rabbit. What do you mean, dead? Natalia immediately covered her mouth with her fat and tender paws. Her stupid appearance was indeed worthy of being described as cute. Oh! What did you say? I didn't hear you clearly. Avina deliberately said in a provocative tone. I'll endure it. Natalia tilted her head and put her 1 centimeter long finger into her mouth, as if acting cute. Acting cute is shameful. I heard everything you said just now. Oh my god. When did I say that? Damn, I wouldn't say that when I'm drunk, would I? Calm down, you must calm down. Natalia walked to Avina's feet and rubbed her chubby cheeks against her clothes. Sigh. I don't want to know who the 3 girls are, and I don't want to know their plan to steal snacks. However, I feel that our dear Professor Reynolds would like to know about this. Poochie. Natalia immediately knelt on the ground and shouted, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I'm guilty. I accept my punishment. Natalia's voice was a little childish, very lowly. It was worthy of its size, but as for its personality, it still needed to be observed. Sister T, no, Mother T, you're my biological mother. Don't tell that idiot Reynolds, or I'll die a horrible death. Natalia glanced at Ivina tentatively and found that there was no change in her expression. She hurriedly said, let's do it this way. I'll tell you a lot of Reynolds' secret. Ivina rolled her eyes and glanced at Ivina. She found that her eyes seemed to be full of brilliance. Deal. From then on, Natalia's life, no, rabbit life, changed dramatically. Natalia, why can you talk? I've never seen an animal that can talk in my life. After a short conversation, Ivina suddenly found that the little rabbit in front of her was very fond of her. Perhaps this was the legendary birds of a feather flock together. I'll tell you secretly, but don't tell Reynolds. Otherwise, you know what will happen. Natalia leaned on Ivina's shoulder and said softly, one day, I accidentally ate the golden carrot that he was researching, and then I could talk. Golden gourd divination? What's that? Didn't he say something about creation research? Anyway, I don't know what it is. It's made from this thing, and it's quite delicious. At this moment, in the forest, the bushes rustled. Reynolds led Natalia deeper into the forest according to the plan. He pushed aside a large bush in front of him, and what greeted him was an even larger bush. Natalia followed behind Reynolds, and after walking for a long time, they finally stopped. We're here. Natalia looked around and found that the surroundings had not changed much compared to before. Even the scenery in front of them was the same as before. Reynolds turned around and stared into Natalia's eyes. What do you think? Don't you think this place is a little familiar? Natalia nodded, and then said slowly, but I can't remember where it is. Posip Village. Plop. Natalia's heart trembled violently with these 3 words. Then she stood there in a daze, and her shrunken pupils were like small bottomless black holes in her eyeballs, releasing piles of negative energy. Hey, are you okay? Reynolds gently patted Natalia's head with his palm facing down. You. Why are you here? Even though she could not see the Posip village he was talking about, everything here, whether it was the smell or the color of the soil, corresponded to the final land that Natalia did not dare to think about, Posip village. I know. Your parents passed away here. Back then, your family came to Posip village to play, and unfortunately, they met with an accident. They encountered an unknown enemy invasion. Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. Ivina covered her ears with her hands, and her voice grew louder. Then your parents risked their lives to save you from the crowd, but they didn't manage to escape, right? I told you to shut up. Ivina threw out a corpse bomb with necromancy magic. Unfortunately, it was useless. Wait a minute, I'm not done yet. I mean, they might not be dead yet. Don't panic, let me analyze it for you. First, it depends on how you define a creature like humans. Reynolds pretended to cough deeply. Humans are made of matter. If you call the dissipation of a physical body death, then they might already be dead. Then I've already said it, let me finish. What if we recreate a physical body? You mean, resurrection? That's right. A physical body is actually made up of magic particles that have changed. After they dissipate, they will naturally return to nature. In theory, as long as there is enough magic support and magic attainment, it can be done. Chapter 616. What a fantasy. These words were undoubtedly enough to describe Ivina's inner thoughts. Resurrection had always existed in myths and legends, but it could also be said that it did not exist. From a certain point of view, resurrection from the dead was already against the heavens. How could the heavens allow such a thing to exist? Don't think too much about it. I'm telling you all these so that you can listen to my class properly. If you want to learn the art of resurrection, you must first learn about creation research. Do you understand? Ivina was silent for a long time before she said hesitantly, Is the art of resurrection real? Of course. I guarantee in the name of Reynolds that it definitely exists. Child. Resurrection really exist. But oh. Reynolds raised his right hand and pointed to the front left. Okay. Let's stop here for today. You can go back if you follow this direction. Let's go. Oh Tilda, ha 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 ha. I didn't expect that stupid teacher would actually do such a thing. Yes. Not only that, he also specially snatched his younger brother's snacks to eat. Oh. I didn't expect that under his appearance, there was actually such a childlike heart. You really can't judge a book by its cover. After reaching an agreement, Tizia, Hanakai, and Arbai sat around the table in their room, listening to Arbai talk about all the things that Reynolds had done before. Arbai, can you tell us about Reynolds's situation? Like his interests, hobbies, family background, and so on. Huakai asked tentatively. Tilda, his hobbies are eating and sleeping. As for the rest, they are all rejected, no comment. Even Arbai knew what to answer and what not to answer. If you don't want to talk about it, then don't talk about it, Huakai deliberately said in a slightly angry tone, but unexpectedly, Arbai did not seem to be affected by it. By the way, do you guys think that stupid teacher is back now? I don't know. All of a sudden, Tizia slammed the table and stood up. That's right. Do you want to go out and explore the forest? Explore? Yes. Didn't they say that there might be treasures hidden in the forest? The scene returned to the other side. Hey, why aren't you going back? Reynolds turned around and saw that Avina was still standing there. Are you going there? Avina stammered. Yes. I have a feeling that there's more to this matter from 12 years ago. I still have to investigate it. Then, can you bring me along? Oh. Reynolds was a little surprised by Avina's request. That year. Dad, Mom, are we almost there? We're almost there. Avina, just wait a little longer. The one who spoke was a middle-aged, black-haired, beautiful woman. Beside her sat a middle-aged uncle with short black hair and a very cute little girl. Mom, you only know how to lie. How many times have I heard that on the way here? Avina, listen to your mother. This time, we're really almost there. The one who spoke was the uncle. The uncle was very strong and tall. He seemed to be the father of the little girl named Avina. He was wearing a black suit and looked like a macho man. This time, the whole family was going on a trip together. Our little Avina was very happy. Her parents were aristocrats, which meant that Avina rarely had the chance to play with her parents. Now that she finally had the chance, she couldn't miss it. Dad, is the Bosip village you mentioned fun? Of course. That's the place where your mother and I fell in love. As his father spoke, a blissful expression unconsciously appeared on his face. But, Dad, it's so scary. His body was as strong as a beast, so his complicated expression naturally made him look ferocious. Tilda, unlike Reynolds, who took a horse carriage to save money, Avina and her family took a horse carriage purely to enjoy the scenery along the way. There were only uneven holes and stones of different sizes on the dirt road in the mountains. Horse carriages from 12 years ago couldn't withstand such bumps and could only rest after a while. It was very troublesome. Croak tilde, Avina crawled on the ground and looked at a frog in front of her, who was staring at her. It's actually able to fight me to a standstill. It's really hiding its strength. That was Avina's evaluation of the frog in the puddle. On the other side, Avina's parents were sitting in the shade of a tree. The beautiful woman was leaning on the uncle's shoulder. Nothing could be more beautiful. Dear, I'm so worried. The beautiful woman actually revealed a distressed expression. Don't worry. When the time comes, I'll protect you and your mother well. The uncle gently kissed the beautiful woman's forehead, then stood up and shouted at Orina, Little princess, let's hurry on our way. It's getting dark. Oh. Got it. Avina replied unhappily. All right, my little princess. Why don't I bring you to eat something delicious tonight? Really? Avina said happily, but then coughed. Ahem, since you're so sincere, this princess will let you off this time. Remember, there won't be a next time. Later, the family arrived at the Bosip village that her parents had been talking about before evening. Things didn't develop as Avina had expected. After arriving at the post house, The first thing her parents did was to ask Avina to wait in the room. They even gave her a very big apple candy that they had just bought by the roadside and said that they would be busy with work and would be back soon. Although Avina was a little unhappy, she was still very sensible and let her parents go to work. However, when they left, their backs were full of gloom. After a while, something terrible happened. Ariwena could hear the incessant cries and curses from the outside. Although she didn't know what was going on, the shadows cast by the fire outside through the paper window gave Ariwena a very fearful feeling. "Over there, don't let him run away. Help." These were the two sentences that appeared the most frequently outside. Fear made Avina hide under the table, not daring to make a sound or move. The only thing she could feel was the temperature brought about by her trembling body. Suddenly, with a pang, the door was directly broken open by a very powerful force. Avina prayed. Chapter 6:17. Beautiful Avina. It was a familiar voice. The beautiful Avina quickly crawled out from under the table, her eyes filled with tears. She wanted to throw herself into her father's arms, but she found that his body was covered with wounds, and the smell of blood made it difficult for her to get close. Just as the beautiful Avina was stunned, the uncle's father directly went forward to hug the beautiful Avina and jumped out of the window on the other side. Wait a minute, this is. Jumping out of the window, she was greeted by a vast sky and a hurried forest. The beautiful Avina inadvertently glanced at the scene in Bossip village. That scene could only be described as a massacre. The people in the village were being chased, and some were even lying down. Her father consciously used his sleeve to block the beautiful Avina's view, but she would never forget it. The uncle's strength was also very strong, and his muscles were enough to support him for a long time. The beautiful Avina did not dare to open her eyes, and could only hear the screams around her. Unknowingly, the beautiful Avina suddenly found that her surroundings had become very quiet, and then she felt her whole body being placed on the ground. The beautiful Avina opened her eyes, and found that she was in the same forest as before. Her father was panting, half kneeling on the ground and panting. "Dad, beautiful Avina, listen to me." The uncle's tone was very firm as he interrupted the beautiful Avina. "Beautiful Avina, you must grow up well in the future, and study hard. Don't tease the dog next door, and don't secretly change Uncle Jong's medicine to candy." The more he spoke, the more the uncle's expression gradually melted, and revealed his expectations for the future, or perhaps, for his daughter to grow up. "Remember, don't let the teacher find you again. Your mother always thinks that I have an affair with that auntie, Dad." The beautiful Avina choked, but the strong girl would not cry, she would not cry. "All right. Don't be emotional. Your mother is still waiting for me inside." The uncle stroked the beautiful Avina's short black hair, and tried his best to put on a smile that the beautiful Avina would not be too worried about. "Keep this well. One day, we will meet again because of this." The uncle very carefully took out, no, it was more accurate to say that he took out a somewhat rusty round badge. It was about the size of a palm, and one could still see the golden dragon pattern on the edge. In the middle of the badge was a seemingly flat blue gem. There were some faint grey stains on the gem, but one could still see the light it emitted. The uncle forcefully shoved the badge into the beautiful Avina's hand, and left. It was a decisive farewell. After that, the beautiful Avina never saw her parents again. After that, he had never been able to find any information about Bossip village. It was as if it had never existed. After that, the Avina Ina was the Avina Ina, and became an outcast the Avina Ina the Avina Ina after that. She came to magic school. After that, a visitor named Reynolds changed everything. "All right then, follow me closely." To be honest, Reynolds was somewhat moved by the beautiful Avina's experience. Although he could make a rough guess based on the information he had gathered, when he heard the truth with his own ears, he could not help but be shocked. The beautiful Avina lowered her head and followed behind Reynolds. "Do you know that Natalia was also a victim of Bossip village?" "No." The beautiful Orina shook her head. Her eyes were filled with a hint of struggle. What about Natalia? 12 years ago, she was fortunate enough to live in Bossip village. In the end, on the day you arrived, a disaster happened. Don't you think that's a coincidence? Reynolds pretended to be mysterious, his words obviously hinting at something. The beautiful Evina naturally understood the meaning behind it. Although she did not agree with Reynolds's point of view, based on the information she had gathered so far, there was no doubt that the disaster was related to the arrival of the beautiful Evina's family. Why did the mysterious killer attack the beautiful Evina's family when they were traveling? Why did Bossip village get massacred? Why did her parents ask her to obediently wait in her room? Even, what was that slightly rusty golden badge? All these questions were like mountains pressing down on the beautiful Evina's heart, making it difficult for her to forget. Beautiful Evina, although I don't want to say this, as a teacher, I have the duty to remind you that it's best not to worry about your parents. I believe that they will be safe. She did not know why Reynolds's personality had changed recently. Although part of the reason was due to his identity as a teacher, she still felt that something was wrong. Putting this aside, the two continued to walk forward. After a few steps, they stopped. Reynolds touched the air in front of them, and immediately, ripples spread out like water in all directions. It's here, Reynolds murmured. The beautiful Evina looked at Reynolds in confusion, but she remained silent and did not speak much. Haven't you noticed? We've been walking for so long and still haven't arrived. Reynolds turned to look at the beautiful Evina. There's a barrier here. The beautiful Evina's pupils shrank, as if she had thought of something. Could it be? That's right. This is a man-made concealment barrier. It can separate a specific target from the surrounding space, and then achieve the concealment magic. As expected, Reynolds gently touched the beautiful Evina's forehead with his right index finger, and cast a rune between her eyebrows that could cancel out the concealment barrier. Then, he turned around and waved his hand, indicating for them to move forward. In the beautiful Evina's eyes, Reynolds only took a few steps forward, and then disappeared. While she was in a daze, the beautiful Evina hurriedly walked forward. After a sudden sense of weightlessness, the first thing that greeted them was not the image brought by their vision, but the strong smell of blood provided by their sense of smell. The scene inside the invisible barrier was completely different from the scene outside. Broken pieces of wood were inserted into the soil, and the blood of the villagers of Siwung village had mixed with the soil that raised them. The black soil, walking into the barrier, Reynolds and Natalia were directly in front of the gate of Siwung village. The lively little village in their memories was so lonely now. Chapter 618. The houses made of straw were mottled with dried blood, and the walls were densely covered with sharp scratches. There were many intersecting paths in the village, but now it was hard to tell which one was which because of the overgrown weeds. After walking a few steps through the gate, Natalia suddenly ran to a seemingly roadside hawker's cart, but it was already broken beyond recognition. I bought candy apples here. Natalia lowered her head and murmured, I remember when my parents first brought me here, they bought a big candy apple here to give me some peace. Reynolds was a little sad, but in order to ease the current atmosphere, he could only try to comfort her. I don't know how to comfort people at all. What's wrong? Natalia asked simply. What should I say? What would Croatia say? Is that candy apple delicious? What am I talking about? That idiot from Croatia. In the midst of the awkwardness, to Reynolds's surprise, Natalia burst into laughter. This was the first time he had ever seen Natalia laugh. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. Oh. Although he said so, he was actually still worried in his heart. The two walked along the only main road in the village, which was a little like a huge centipede. The road under their feet was its body, and the endless paths were like its terrifying limbs. The houses built on this foundation were also the shells that resisted external forces. The broken houses around them were obviously densely covered with knife and sword marks. Suspiciously, it seemed that no matter where they looked, they couldn't find any remaining corpses, which was really puzzling. This looked like an abandoned village. Reynolds stopped and put his hands on his waist. His head was slightly lowered, and his white hair was in front of his eyes, showing a very distressed expression. Natalia, have you met the demon race here before? How do you know? Natalia was stunned for a moment. Hurry up and answer me, Reynolds shouted in a slightly domineering tone. Oh. It was Natalia's first time seeing Reynolds so angry. After my father sent me to a safe place, he asked me to go home alone. I kept walking along that road. When I was hungry, I ate the wild vegetables by the roadside. When I was thirsty, I drank the occasional stream. At this point, Natalia's tone became a little weak. I walked like this for 5 days and 5 nights. All I saw along the way were endless forests and many ferocious beasts. Taking a deep breath, he continued, but I didn't expect that all these difficulties didn't defeat me. What defeated me was actually my own body. The lack of water, the alternating heat and cold seemed to have exceeded the limits of my body. On the 6th day, I collapsed on the road. Reynolds looked at Natalia and regretted his impulsive attitude just now. Just as I was about to faint, a red-haired woman who was covered in wounds and blood walked out from the bush nearby. She asked me if I wanted to live. So you said you wanted to? Reynolds interrupted. Yes. Natalia answered, feeling a little ashamed. I don't mean to look down on you. When one's life is in danger, it's human nature to want to continue living. If I were you, I would have said the same thing. Natalia's face turned red. What's wrong with you? Nothing. I'm fine. I just feel much better after hearing what you said. And then? What about the red-haired woman? How do you know she's a demon? Oh. Well, in theory, there's actually no difference between a demon and a human, but the red-haired woman has 2 black horns that are as long as index fingers on both sides of her forehead. She also emits a very strong murderous aura. My intuition tells me that she's a demon. Red hair, black horns, could it be? Tell me more details. Reynolds grabbed Natalia's shoulders and said anxiously, does the red-haired woman have any other characteristics? Let me think. Natalia subconsciously supported her right elbow with her left arm and then supported her chin with her right fist. That woman is very flirtatious. Yes, very flirtatious. Her skin is a little dark. Oh, that's all I can remember. Okay. Reynolds had a rough idea in his heart. Haha. Reynolds suddenly burst into laughter. Renault's strange behavior startled Natalia. Sorry. Haha. I just feel that you've changed a lot recently. I just feel that you've become a lot more cheerful since you came here. Me. Hey. Don't go. Hey, let's go back, okay? I'll give you carrots to eat, okay? At this moment, the beautiful Avina was sitting on Huakai's shoulder and complaining from time to time. Due to Croatia's restless request, Huakai and the beautiful Avina were also forced to come out in the middle of the night. The location of Hungwang village was originally located in a relatively remote place in the human world, let alone in an even more remote forest, so it directly caused the surrounding air to be extremely cold. Stop complaining. Such a big forest, there must be a lot of treasures that can't be found. But, no buts. Be careful, or I'll tell Mr. Reynolds that you secretly ate his experimental result. Oh Tilda, the beautiful Avina cast an expectant look at Huakai with her small red bean-like eyes, and Huakai also understood the beautiful Avina's thoughts. That. Croatia, don't you feel that the surrounding temperature is a little abnormally low? Now that you mention it, it does seem a little cold. Croatia stopped and began to rub his arms with his palms. Yeah. Although it's not too far away from winter now, it feels like falling into an ice cave. Hey. Then let's go back, okay? Oh Tilda Croatia seemed to be a little shaken. But maybe there's a treasure in front of us. T tilde psi tilde y. Huakai deliberately dragged out the word. Oh Tilda okay. Let's go back. Croatia compromised. Before leaving, she looked back at the forest in front of her reluctantly because she always felt that there was an incredible treasure there. Chapter 619. Following the footsteps they had taken, the situation was more serious than they had imagined. They were in a forest, and their sense of direction was completely useless here. They could only follow the footsteps left behind. "Hey, Avina, don't you think it's strange?" "Yes. Indeed." Avina seemed to have noticed something too. "What are you talking about? I don't understand. Are you talking about the fruits on the tree? It's too late to climb the tree. Don't even think about it," Natalia said proudly. "Sigh. No. Didn't you notice? There's another strange footprint following our footprints, and it's intermittent, as if it's being watched by something," Avina said calmly. "Now that you mention it, it does seem to be true." Natalia walked to one of the footprints and thought for a moment with her limited brain. "Look at these densely packed holes, there should be more than one creature." Avina also walked to the side of these strange footsteps and put her right hand under her chin. "This should be a spider." "Spider." Upon hearing the word spider, Natalia immediately broke out in a cold sweat. Spiders were the animals she was most afraid of since she was a child. Long legs with many joints joined together, coupled with small and dense eyes. Just thinking about it made her feel disgusted. It was at this moment that a rustling sound came from the bushes beside them. "Quick, get behind me," Arbai shouted in its very coquettish voice and immediately jumped down from Avina's shoulder. With a whoosh, it instantly expanded to a size several times larger than Natalia and Avina combined. It shielded Natalia and Avina behind it. "Arbai, you," although she was very surprised, Natalia knew that it was not the right time to ask about these things, because the rustling sound was getting more and more frequent, as if there were countless unknown creatures moving in a circle with them as the center. "Be careful. Be careful," Avina shouted. Everyone followed Avina's line of sight and saw an enormous black spider that was nearly 3 meters long right above their heads. There were 8 blood-red eyes on its head, and each of the eyes was dozens of centimeters long. The 8 eyes neatly filled the top and bottom of its round and big head. Its legs were like twisted pillars pieced together by a pile of steel bars, and its body was covered in long black hair. Even ordinary people would be disgusted by it, let alone Natalia, who was afraid of spiders. The giant black spider kept crawling on the branches of the surrounding trees. With its extraordinary jumping ability, it left spider silk everywhere. Soon, the spider silk turned into a semicircular spider web that covered Natalia, Avina, and Arbai. On the other side, Natalia and the other two could only watch helplessly, because they were surrounded. Not only did the giant spider bring an indescribable sense of oppression, but there were also countless small spiders. They were like a pack of wolves that would gather together and act as a group with a leader. Ka sounds kept coming from the surroundings. A black mass of creatures crawled out from under the leaves, then from the soil, and some even came out from the remains of animals. The giant black spider was like the leader of the pack. It commanded all the small spiders to attack, and it waited for an opportunity. 2 people and 1 rabbit formed a triangular formation with their backs facing each other, completely entrusting their backs to each other. "Arbai, can we?" Natalia asked. "Don't underestimate me." Avina. "Yes." More and more small spiders appeared, and there was almost no green in the surroundings. There were only black spiders, and occasionally there were some red spiders that were especially poisonous. Natalia took out the magic sword on her back. This trip was in the name of treasure hunting, so how could it be justified without a weapon? Arbai saw that Natalia was ready for battle, and immediately took a deep breath and increased its size by several times. The emotional rabbit did not have much fighting power, so it could only rely on increasing or decreasing its size to resist the enemy. Charge. Using its huge body, Arbai tried its best to shrink itself into a ball and then rolled over. Although the move looked very primitive and crude, one had to admit that it was very effective. When Natalia saw that Arbai had crushed so many small spiders with one blow, her desire to win rose. After adding a simple fire attribute to her magic sword, she rushed to Arbai's side to harvest the spiders. "Natalia, wait." Before Avina could finish, Natalia rushed in. Avina's magic attribute was water. Unlike Natalia, she could not use magic of other attributes due to some special reasons. The 3,000 families were a family of magicians, and were famous for their powerful magic. However, The more powerful and the larger the range of the spell, the longer the chant. Obviously, it was not suitable for this situation. Turn the hard into the soft, the power of nature. Water whip. Avina held her breath and gathered a large amount of water from the ground to form 2 3-meter-long whips. She held one in each hand and lashed out at the spiders. Fluttering silver feathers, entrusted with the thoughts of the heart. There will always be people who seek the other side of the dream. Spread your wings, wings of heaven. Natalia kept running through the open space, using the constant running to buy time for herself to chant the spell. Huge silver wings gradually took shape on Natalia's back. The intensely concentrated wind attribute energy even cut the small spiders around into powder. Finally, the silver wings formed, and a green light accompanied Natalia, illuminating the surroundings. Perhaps the strong light stimulated the huge black spider hanging high in the air, but it actually let out a particularly ear-piercing high-frequency sound. Be careful. It's stimulated. Avina shouted. The huge spider took a deep breath, and then directly spat at Natalia. Thanks to Avina's warning, Natalia glided back in the air, avoiding the entanglement of the spider's web. Arbai, can you deal with the small spiders on the ground? This can my ass. There are so many spiders, even if you divide me up, it won't be enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. Avina jumped onto Arbai's back. Natalia and I will take care of the big spider, you take care of the small ones. Chapter 620. Natalia used her celestial wings to dive in mid-air, concentrating all her strength on the tip of her sword and stabbing at the big spider. Damn it, so many spider webs are in the way. While they were dealing with the small spiders, the big spider had taken the opportunity to transform the surrounding environment into a spider cave. Countless spider webs wrapped around the trees, creating a very strange scene. TSK. It's so hard. Natalia used 80% of her strength to attack the back of the giant spider, but the effect was negligible. She didn't even leave a white mark on it. Avina, my physical attacks are useless against it. Avina used the water whip in her hand to fling away the small spiders that were crawling up Arbai's long hair. Natalia, buy me some time. Okay. Hey, can you guys hurry up? These spiders are crawling on my body, so disgusting, Arbai said as it stepped on the surrounding spiders. Okay. Stop complaining. Bear with it a little longer. Avina sat cross-legged on Arbai's head. Her previous position had already been lost, and now only this part of Arbai's body was safe. The other parts were already crawling with spiders. Wow. These spiders are so disgusting. Don't go into my ears. All things are made of water, 1 into 2, 2 into 3, shapeless and formless, moving according to one's will. If man can't do it, nature can't do it either, even if, hey, Natalia, what's wrong with Avina? What are you mumbling about? Are you scared out of your wits? Arbai said. You idiot, haven't you heard singing before? Damn it, I almost got hit, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Hey, do you need singing when you use magic? Why doesn't Reynolds use it? The giant black spider was getting impatient under Natalia's constant harassment. It was as if there was a fly constantly bothering it. Although it knew that the fly could not do any harm to it, it was still uncomfortable for it to stick to it like a sticky candy. Fierce flames are burning now. Charge straight ahead. Fire. Natalia gathered her essence and swung a flame slash at the big spider. Under the enhancement of magic power, the flame ran wildly in the shape of a crescent moon. When it was 3 meters away from the big spider, it suddenly accelerated and turned into a roaring lion. Its fur was blazing hot and swayed in a state of erection under the steaming heat. Boom. The flame slash struck the large spider's head, but it was in accordance with the law of smoke and no damage. The large spider did not seem to have suffered any damage. TSK. It's too difficult. Avina, are you done? Yes. After answering Natalia briefly, Iwina continued with her magic incantation. This big spider in front of me shouldn't be a magical beast. It hunts purely based on its instincts, but, Ariwena swallowed her breath. But I've never heard of a beast spider beast. Even Natalia's attack was almost ineffective. Heaven's clarity, water's clarity, pure and white, indifferent and non-existent. What kind of magic is Avina chanting? I've never seen it before. Water can capsize a boat, but it can also capsize a boat. Monstrous waves, plunder thousands. River of blood. As Avina chanted the last part of her spell, the small spiders around her suddenly quieted down. They were like marionettes that had lost their strings, standing there in a daze without moving. Suddenly, after 2 seconds, dense cracks began to appear on the spiders' bodies. This phenomenon then spread to all the smaller spiders. There was a slight sound of boiling, and in the next second, the spiders with Orina as the center exploded outwards, emitting a faint white steam from their corpses. Avina, you. Natalia looked at Avina in shock. Avina stood up a little shakily, and there was even some blood flowing from the corner of her mouth. Avina. Natalia rushed over as fast as she could to catch the dizzy Avina. Avina, what's wrong? Natalia's voice was a little hoarse. She was afraid that something had happened to Avina. I'm fine. It's just that the magic consumption is a little high. Avina stood up unsteadily, ignoring Natalia's obstruction as she walked to the front of the large spider. There's one last step. There's still one last step. Avina walked to the front of the large spider. She did not know why, but the large spider was in the same state as the small spiders before. It was in a sluggish state. Avina, don't force yourself. You've already used up too much of your magic. Such a large amount of magic. That's right. Avina, your body won't be able to take it like this. Arbai saw Avina's weak state, and was immediately worried. It's over, it's over. If anything happens to this girl, Reynolds will skin me alive. Enough. Avina shouted. Arbai doesn't have any attack power, and Natalia's attack can't penetrate it. What else can we do? Natalia and Arbai were suddenly choked and speechless. But you can't use magic like this. Anne. What's with that spell of yours? Why haven't I seen you use it before? That's the study of creation. Study of creation? Is that what Reynolds was talking about? That's right. Teacher Reynolds told me a little about this study of creation, and then I had a lot of understanding of magic. The freezing spell and blood sea just now were spells that I modified. Roar. Boom. The large spider, which was originally frozen, suddenly let out a roar, and its many legs made a discordant cracking sound from its joints. Blood sea. Seal of death. Avina took advantage of the fact that the freezing spell was still in effect and immediately raised her hand to draw a blood-red talisman in the air. A thick smell of blood filled the air, and even some black blood in the small spider's body gathered and flowed towards the talisman. Ha! Avina used the last of her strength to gently push the talisman towards the only surviving large spider. Although the talisman was not as fast as the small spider, it was fortunate that the large spider was now in a state where it could not move. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for the talisman to hit it. Splash! The talisman splashed a bunch of water droplets as soon as it came into contact with the large spider's shell, and then continued to merge into the spider's body at the same speed as before. Roar! The spider let out an extremely sharp, ear-piercing sound. Its shell, which even Natalia could not do anything about before, had many finger-thick cracks in a very short period of time. Its whole body was twitching, and the sound of its shell cracking could be heard. Chapter 621. I heated up the water in its body. The huge amount of water vapor should be able to destroy its body from the inside. Avina, you're so amazing, Natalia exclaimed as she looked at the wobbly spider. Avina, Natalia turned her head. Just as she was about to say something, Avina seemed to have lost her balance and fell. Natalia's figure flashed and caught her. I'm fine. I just ran out of magic. What's up with that spell of yours? It's the first time I've seen you use it. Ah, that. It's, careful. Natalia suddenly shouted. Roar, roar. Before everyone could calm down, the giant spider, which they thought was completely dead, started to move again. It's a little strange. Avina jumped back. The spider's body seemed to be stuck as it tried to get up. The strange thing was that even though most of its 8 huge limbs had been broken by Natalia's magic, it seemed to be completely unaware of the pain as it struggled to get up. So disgusting. The blood dripping from the spider's wounds emitted a very faint black mist, and there was also the smell of rotting corpses. Every joint of the spider's limbs was twitching irregularly. This made Avina and the others feel a sense of horror that they had never felt before. Careful. A ball of black blood from the spider was flung over. My butt. Unfortunately, Avina's reaction seemed to be a little too late. The white fur on her butt was corroded into a few small holes. My innocence. Avina immediately covered her butt with her chubby paws. But before everyone could calm down, the ground shook violently again. Then, 3 huge mounds of earth appeared beside Avina and Natalia's feet. Judging from the size, they seemed to be similar to the crazed spider in front of them. Could it be not good? Avina took a deep breath and dashed to Avina's side. She carried the 2 of them and jumped onto a big tree behind them. The 3 mounds bulged once again, and as expected, 3 more large spiders broke out of the ground. However, these 3 spiders were even more horrifying. Milky white bones could be seen everywhere on their bodies, and maggots could be seen wriggling in their bloody flesh. What the hell are these 3? The speed of the 3 new zombies was completely incomparable to the twitching one. Before they could react, the 3 of them had already surrounded them. We're surrounded. Elwana, Natalia, and Elwana were standing close together, back to back, and each of them had their backs to the other. The atmosphere became even more tense. Natalia swallowed and tilted her head. Let me do it. No. Just as Orina was about to open her mouth to argue, a strange sound was heard. Orina, who had grown bigger, directly sucked the 2 of them into her mouth and then shrunk into a ball of unknown substance. Avina, let us out. If you do this, we'll. Ariwana shook her head violently, and the violent shaking caused the 2 people in her mouth to collapse on her tongue. Their mouths were still mumbling something, and because their mouths were closed, their words were very unclear. I'd better translate it. Don't worry, I'm very resistant to beatings. No. Avina quickly refuted Avina. Have you not brushed your teeth for a long time? You'll stink us to death. My family. Avina suddenly fell into silence. Avina and Natalia's hearts tightened. Maybe the 3 spiders had taken action. Don't hit me, don't hit me. Avina used her 2 small paws to cover her eyes. Thus, after a while, why haven't they hit me yet? I clearly saw something walking over just now. Wait a moment, it's probably because they're too big and too slow. It seemed that Avina had forgotten about the terrifying speed of the 3 big spiders just now. Thus, after a while, that's not right. Logically speaking, I should be gnawed into a skeleton by now. That's weird. Avina secretly opened her eyes a little and looked outside through her index and middle fingers. I'll beat you to death, I'll beat you to death. You even followed them out and ran around, why can't I kill you? Avina actually saw a familiar figure standing by her feet, and the figure was hitting her. Reynolds, what are you doing? Avina asked a little guiltily. What are you mumbling about? When Avina saw Reynolds, she was like a fish in water. She immediately spat out Avina and Natalia. Pa. So dirty, how long has it been since you took a bath? Seriously, in order to protect you, I'm risking my life. Are you speaking human language? No, rabbit language. Avina patted the saliva off her body. Suddenly, she saw a familiar figure standing less than a meter away from her. Isn't this my dearest teacher Reynold? We didn't run out to play, this is a field trip. Yes, a field trip. Avina brought me and Natalia out. Avina said with a little guilty conscience. Oh, is that so? Natalia, you're the most obedient. Tell me the truth. It's Avina. Goodbye, Avina. We'll cherish the radishes you leave behind. Ditto. Avina, have you had enough fun? Reno greeted Ariwana jokingly, but with this fake smile, anyone with a discerning eye could tell that something good had happened. Reynolds, Listen to me. Avina suddenly realized something and covered her mouth with her two front paws. Woo 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 woo. Reynolds seemed to have understood something. I was wondering why the golden carrot I was studying the other day was gone. It turns out that you secretly ate it. How is it? Are you happy to be able to talk? Woo woo, squeak, woo. Avina saw that her usual trick acting coquettishly was useless. She immediately thought of another way. Oh my. I'm also dearest Sir Reynolds. I won't hide it from you. Look. It's these 3 big spiders and the one twitching on the ground over there. They caused us a lot of trouble. You have to avenge us. I know. That's why I tied them up. Reynolds slapped his forehead and sighed. Forget it. I'll deal with you when we get back. Chapter 622. Reynolds's expression changed. He clenched his left hand into a claw, and the thin threads that were tied around his 5 fingers emitted a strong white light. The other end of the threads was connected to the 3 large spiders. If Reynolds did not take the initiative to attack, Avina would not be able to notice these threads for the rest of her life. I've never seen these spiders before. I can take them back and study them. Open. Reynolds waved his left hand, and instantly, 3 dark discs of the same size appeared above the heads of the 3 large spiders. Countless dazzling white threads fell from the discs and wrapped around their bodies. No matter how desperate the spiders screamed, it was useless. The spiders were directly pulled into the discs. As for the spider that suddenly twitched crazily, it was also taken away by the discs. Are you okay? Reynolds turned around and asked Avina and Natalia. I'm fine, I'm fine. Avina replied. I'm not asking you. Inside the house that Reynolds built. Lilith, who had been sent back to her room by Reynolds, had just returned to her room when Reynolds said, You go back and wait. I'll go look for them. I'm a little thirsty. Alice picked up the glass of water on the table, intending to drink it in one gulp. But at that moment, I'm back. Avina suddenly kicked the door open. Splash. Alice, why are you spraying water? Ah. This is water magic. I'm practicing the new magic I learned. I'm back too. I'm back. Ditto. Natalia, Avina, and Reynolds walked in listlessly. I'm so tired. I'm so sleepy. When Alice saw Avina's dirty mud stains and numerous wounds, she seemed to understand what had happened. Sleep, sleep. I'm so tired. Avina stretched her body and said comfortably. He spoke comfortably, but judging from his eyes, it seemed like he had an ulterior motive. Wait a minute, are you trying to run away after causing me trouble? Shit. Reynolds looked up at the sky. It's getting late. Look. Eunuch's son has already revealed part of his face. Isn't it time for training? Are you a devil? No. It had been a week since the spider incident. According to Reynolds's original plan, Natalia would be returning home to receive her inheritance at this time tomorrow. What kind of secrets do the 3,000 clans have? What kind of secrets do my heterochromatic pupils have? And, why does Teacher Reynolds know about my clan's secrets? Natalia stood by the window in a daze. Her 2 hands, which were shaped like flowers, silently supported her chin. The glass on the window was made up of some messy elements that Reno had extracted from plants using magic. It was said to be very environmentally friendly and could be used as a mirror occasionally. It was very convenient. Heterochromatic pupils. Natalia gently placed her hand under her left eye. Indeed, the crystal blue color of her left eye and the light blue color of her right eye had brought some small troubles to Natalia since she was young. For example, she was a freak. She wasn't her parents' biological child, and so on. She had to admit that her imagination was really rich. Natalia. A familiar shout came from outside the door. That idiot is asking you to go find him. Avina, I've told you so many times to respect your teacher. All right. My good student, hurry up and go. Reynolds's room was on the first floor of this large house. When Reynolds had built this house, he had considered many things. Earthquake safety issues, rain, and so on, He had not thought about any of them. There was no other reason why a great demon like him could stay on the first floor. That's right. No one would fight with him for a bed. Reynolds looked around his room with satisfaction. He had a large bed, and sunlight was shining through the slightly yellowish-brown floor-to-ceiling windows. This feeling, comfortable. Reno couldn't help but stretch. Fimpy. Girls are so gullible. They just used the excuse that there were bugs on the first floor and they obediently ran to the second floor. At this time, outside the door, oh no. I think I heard something terrible. Natalia's hand, which was about to knock on the door, froze in the air in fright. What should I do? Silencing him? Natalia suddenly thought of the scene of Reynolds using magic threads to tie up the large spider. She blushed and stood there in a daze. After a while, Natalia came back to her senses and knocked on the door. Hey! Natalia, why is your face so red? No, nothing. It's just from practicing magic. Ha! Ha ha ha. Oh, I see. Reynolds stood up and gave Natalia a seat. Do you know why I'm looking for you today? Sigh, back in the day, my teacher often asked me this. Reynolds thought indifferently. As a demon king, he must receive a lot of education before ascending to the throne. Especially for a prince like Reynolds who was more extroverted, he must be strictly disciplined. You should know. Is it about going home tomorrow? Smart. Reynolds patted Natalia's head. Do you still remember the badge I gave you last time? Yes. Natalia took out the mysterious badge from her pocket that Reynolds had given her last time. After you get home, rest for a day or two and give the badge to your parents. It's a small communication device. I'll explain it to them. Okay, got it. Natalia nodded her head slightly. Your family isn't too far from here. It'll take at least 2 days to get there. Reynolds rested his chin on his hand. Let me see if there's anything else I want to tell them. Right. Reynolds knocked on his forehead. If you have any trouble, use this to contact me. Reynolds turned his palm over and suddenly found a blue crystal the size of a palm out of nowhere. Change. With a tap of his index finger, the crystal shrunk into something the size of 2 fingernails like magic. Reynolds found a silver-white thread and then made a hole. He threaded the thread through and made a very delicate necklace. He hung it around Natalia's neck. Millimeter. Not bad, very nice. Reynolds looked at Natalia who was wearing the crystal necklace. Her short dark purple hair paired with the slightly changing blue crystal added a touch of purity to her already noble temperament. Really. Hearing Reynolds's praise, Natalia was as happy as a blooming flower. Thank you, teacher. With that, Natalia stuck out her little tongue and left. Seeing that Natalia had completely closed the door, Reynolds breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 623. Sigh, it's so hard to be a teacher. Since you're so worried about her, why don't you personally help her? Hearing this, Ari Wainer complained from the side. There's more. Hartilda Avina seemed to be gasping for air. Can I rest for a little while? I can't take it anymore. If Natalia hadn't left, and if Natalia had looked carefully at the ceiling, she would have found our poor Avina hanging from the high ceiling, surrounded by dozens of grey iron bars. It was like a small prison in the sky, but in the center of the prison, there was a wheel that was bigger than Avina, and she was running on it. No, it's your fault for eating my golden carrot. That's something I developed to help animals in need. I didn't know. Ha, ha, ha. Reynolds waved his left hand, and a gust of wind rolled out. The speed of our buys wheel increased again. Unfortunately, this invention was meant for animals like squirrels, so Reynolds decided to let our buy experiment with it first. On the second day, Yizichen was still alive. Blossom, I'll miss you. Avina. Blossom's voice was trembling, and it was obvious that she didn't want to be separated from everyone. I'll miss the pastries you brought back from Uncle and Auntie. I'll never forget the taste. Before Avina could finish, Blossom walked to Natalia's side. Natalia, I'll bring back a lot of delicious food for you. Oh, thank you. Natalia, who had been alone all this time, seemed a little shy. Perhaps it was because she hadn't gotten used to the special term friend, but she had never felt this way before. Blossom, You must be careful when you go back, Reynolds said. Okay. The farewell scene quickly passed, and after saying goodbye, Blossom sat in a carriage that Reynolds had spent a lot of money to hire. The whole carriage was made of 100-year-old wood, and it could effectively protect against low-level magic attacks. Sigh, it seems that I'll have to reduce Avina's food money tomorrow. Avina, it's not that I don't want to teach you creation research, it's that your body isn't suitable at all. What do you mean my body isn't suitable? You only know how to find excuses to brush me off. Don't think I don't know that the creation research you taught Blossom is like adding fuel to the fire. Why don't you teach me? Hey, is this how you add fuel to the fire? After sending Blossom off, Reynolds was faced with a very troublesome problem. Ever since the last time the spider incident, Avina had seen Blossom use the Sea of Blood, she had been begging Reynolds to teach her creation research. Avina grabbed onto Reynolds's thigh and refused to let go. She couldn't shake him off like a piece of sticky candy. Calm down. Move your face away from my pants. Your saliva is going to get on them. No. If you don't teach me, I won't let you go. Let go. I need to go to the toilet. Hehe, did you eat the pudding I put in the cupboard? No. It should be Blossom. I saw a pudding in her bag when I sent her off yesterday. Oh, really? In order to prevent someone from eating my pudding, I put laxatives in it. So it was you. Reynolds couldn't help but spit. Me. Let go of me, I need to go to the toilet. I won't let go. After such a small prelude, Raina still managed to escape from Avina. Sigh, Avina this girl. If only she could save me some trouble like Natalia. Natalia seemed to have always regarded the sacred sword dance as a place she yearned for. To improve Natalia's necromancy magic, Reynolds specially brought out the abnormally twitching spider from last time. After many days of unremitting efforts, the spider was already dead. Finally, Reynolds came to a conclusion. As expected, I still have to go there personally. Just as Reynolds was thinking about something, a familiar and frightening voice sounded again. Idiot, I still caught you. In order to escape from Avina, Reynolds used a small space jump magic. Oh my god, you really are. Reynolds had always been the one who made others speechless. This time, he really met his match. Reynolds took a deep breath and thought for a while. Avina, how about I tell you a story? It has something to do with you. What story? I don't want to. As she spoke, Avina suddenly thought of something. Story? Something to do with me? Then. I'll let you go for a story. After you're done, you have to teach me creation research. Reynolds grunted, but it was probably a perfunctory millimeter. A long, long time ago. Hey, I've already used this opening too many times. Don't interrupt, listen carefully. Reynolds continued, a long, long time ago, in a magical land, there were 3 huge races, the human race, the demon race, and the beast race. The beast race had the largest number and maintained a neutral state. The demon race had the smallest number but was extremely ferocious. The human race was in the middle and had the highest intelligence. After thousands of years, the human race finally developed into the largest race with their own advantages. Thus, they began to be dissatisfied with their small and barren area and began to invade and expand. Wait a minute, is this our Starry Wish Island? Reynolds did not answer Avina. The human race set their initial target as the demon race because they thought that the demon race was very weak and easy to bully. The war soon began. What the human race did not expect was that the demon race was actually so strong. Both sides had their own advantages and were evenly matched. The situation had been in a stalemate. After a few hundred years, a genius demon king appeared in the demon race. He was extremely handsome and elegant. He could be said to be a hero among men, the king of demons. Reynolds took a deep breath and continued. He relied on his invincibility to instantly change the stalemate of the war that had lasted for 100 years. The situation on the battlefield was once in favor of the demon race. However, later on, a saintess appeared in the human race who could confront the demon king. Saintess. It sounds so familiar. The saintess was obtained by the human race through the power of sacrifice. She herself was the darling of nature. Later, about 100 years ago, the two sides began the final war. The Demon King and the Saintess fought fiercely. It was difficult for the two sides to maintain the final war, so the two sides signed a treaty and never contacted each other again. Chapter 624. Reynolds's story could be described as rhythmic, and with some exaggerated use of words, it was almost a complete reconstruction of the scene at that time. Avina was also a little fascinated by the story. Is what you said true? How would I know if it's true or not? I'm just telling a story. Reynolds spread out his hands and pretended to be indifferent. The history of 100 years ago recorded in the history books is blurry. How do you know all this? Avina was not a fool. On the contrary, she was very clever. It was just that she was not that interested in many things. What does this story have to do with me? Who knows? Reynolds spread out his hands again. Ariwana was a little angry when she saw Reynolds pretending to be crazy. "Mph, I won't ask anymore. You can teach me creation research if you want. I'm going to teach myself." After completely getting rid of Avina's entanglement, Reynolds came to Natalia's side. It was early in the morning. There was a saying that the clumsy bird flies first. Once a smart bird like Natalia flew first, it could be said that her future was limitless. Reynolds closed his eyes and sensed Natalia's location according to the waves of magic particles. Here. Reynolds walked for about 5 minutes and came to an open space not far from the house. This was the edge of the southeast corner of the forest. There were no other obstacles to practicing magic here. There was a very dense bush not far in front of him. Reynolds tiptoed and quietly hid behind the bush. He stretched out his 2 hands and pried open a small gap. Then, he put his left eye on it, and the scenery not far away immediately appeared in front of Reynolds. At this moment, Natalia was squatting on one side of the open space and studying something with a magnifying glass. Next to her was the corpse of a spider that was somewhat unrecognizable. The ground was covered in the spider's black blood. It was a bit like a murder scene. No, a murder scene. Yes. Natalia's spirit of not being afraid of hardship and being dirty is praiseworthy. Reynolds gave full recognition to Natalia's learning spirit. He then nodded and continued reading. Natalia was currently using something that resembled a scalpel to draw on the corpse. After a short while, Natalia carved a very clear magic array on the hard shell of the spider. Perhaps it was because Natalia was more proficient in necromancy magic, but all of her movements seemed very practiced and at ease. For such a beautiful girl to make such a move at such a young age, Reynolds felt a little sorry for Natalia when he thought about it. TSK. Reynolds wanted to go out and guide Natalia. Who is it? Natalia roared and shot 3 needles and threads in Reynolds' direction almost instantly. The needles and threads flew extremely fast and arrived in front of Reynolds in the blink of an eye. Ting, ting, ting. Reynolds waved his right index finger, and the 3 needles and threads seemed to be pulled by something as they bypassed Reynolds and pierced into the trunk of the big tree behind him. "Natalia, it's me." Natalia saw Reynolds and immediately stood up. She patted the soil off her knees and wiped her blood-stained palms on her clothes. "Mr. Reynolds." Reynolds walked to Natalia's side and secretly glanced at the corpse of the big spider over her shoulder. He found that the spider's limbs had already been dissected. Some of the limbs that were a few meters long were only bones left. "What are you doing?" Reynolds was a little impressed by Natalia. "After I came back last time, I did a lot of research, but I couldn't find any information about the spiders you brought back, so I decided to dissect them myself." "Oh, did you find anything?" "I found this when I was dissecting its stomach." As she spoke, Natalia took out a black bead the size of a fingernail from her shirt pocket. Reynolds took the opportunity to take it. In fact, Reynolds also found the same beads in the bodies of the other 3 spiders, but the color of Natalia's bead was darker. These black beads were inexplicably emitting an unfriendly aura, and this aura was very familiar to Reynolds. The bead was very smooth to the touch, and there was not a trace of blood when it was taken out of the spider's body. It was a little warm. If a child held it in their hands, They would definitely think that it was a small marble. Mr. Reynolds, look. While Reynolds was concentrating on his thoughts, Natalia suddenly interrupted his train of thought. Natalia walked to the front of the spider's corpse and pushed out her right palm a few centimeters away from the head of the spider. There are two kinds of malicious ghosts, the black and the white impermanence, the king of hell, the book of life and death, the pen of God, change fate. Natalia softly chanted the spell, and a gentle breeze blew by. A black magic formation was formed on the spider's head. Ka. Ka. The spider's corpse suddenly shook, and then its limbs moved. It actually started to sway. Because of the lack of a part of its body structure and the influence of its stiff muscles, the spider's movements were not very smooth. It was like a marionette with a broken string. Every movement would make ka sounds of bones rubbing against each other. It was very scary. Natalia. Reynolds called Natalia. What's wrong? Natalia stopped the magic control, and the spider's corpse fell down vertically. A cloud of dust was raised. This spider's shell is a very good defensive tool for you. Yes. But. No buts. I know what you're thinking. Is it because it's too big to carry around? It's impossible for you to control it all the time with your current magic reserves. Yes. Natalia lowered her head in shame. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Here. Reynolds raised his right hand and reached into a black disc that appeared in front of him. Wait a minute. Let me see. There are a lot of things. This black disc was something similar to a mobile warehouse that Reynolds isolated from space using spacetime magic. As long as Reynolds had something, he would hide it inside. That's impossible. Wait a minute, Natalia. Yes. Natalia was a little confused. What's Mr. Reynolds doing? Reynolds simply stuffed his upper body directly into the black disc. Found it. Reynolds took out a book that was about 2 fingers thick. Judging from the cover, it seemed to be quite old. This is a kind of magic that I invented. Take it and learn it. Remember not to teach it to others. Chapter 625. Natalia took the book, flipped open the cover, and skimmed through the general content. Master, this is too precious. Please take it back. This book was actually a simplified version of Reynolds's black disc. The original black disc was too difficult to learn, so Reynolds simply gave her a simplified version. It's just a simple space-time magic. What's so precious about it? Take it, be good. In order not to give Natalia a chance to think, Reynolds raised the black beads in his hand. As an exchange, I'll take this first. With a flicker of his body, he disappeared. Spacetime magic was the most advanced category of magic. It was difficult to learn, powerful, and rare. Even Natalia could not resist this temptation. Seeing that Reynolds had left, Natalia sat on the ground with the book in her arms and began to study it. Because Natalia used necromancy magic, in terms of combat power, not only did the caster need to be able to support the undead to fight continuously, but also the quality of the undead itself. Natalia had encountered many powerful monsters' corpses before, but she had given up because she could not carry them. 100 years ago, the demons were seen as the embodiment of cruelty and violence. After the end of the Great War between humans and demons, people of all classes on both sides suffered unspeakably. At that time, the Demon King used all his magic to eliminate most of the negative emotions in the demons' bodies. Since then, the situation of the demons in great numbers ended, and the demons established a country with the capital of Casa. At noon, Reynolds did not rob Natalia of food as usual. Instead, he stayed in his room silently, staring at the 4 black beads in his hand in a daze. This scene made Arbai, who was at the side, feel astonished. If this guy can make Reynolds not eat, well, it can't be good. After thinking about it, Arbai immediately stuffed its head into the quilt on the bed, afraid that Reynolds would see it. No, I must go in person. I can't leave it alone. After muttering to himself for a while, Reynolds patted his butt and stood up immediately. With a flash of white light, he disappeared from the room. At the same time, a silver magic array lit up somewhere in the forest, and Reynolds walked out of it. I didn't notice it last time. Reynolds very clearly sensed that the black bead contained a savage aura unique to the demon race, because he was the one who had eliminated most of the negative emotions of the demon race 100 years ago. Reynolds looked around. The black bloodstains on the lawn had completely dried, leaving behind a ghastly trail. This place was actually the place where Natalia and the rabbit had encountered the giant spider not long ago. Reynolds felt that if he wanted to investigate the black bead, he should start from the very beginning. Demon Slayer I. Reynolds closed his eyes. Then, he abruptly opened them. A small, silver-white magic array appeared in each of his eyes, rotating continuously. Exorcism Eye was a spell that allowed the caster to clearly see the flow of magic particles in their field of vision. Just as he had expected, the image he saw through the demon expelling eye not only contained green magic particles, but also some light blue magic particles. They were like fireflies dancing in the air. Reynolds bent down and discovered that there were black magic particles on a small patch of land. These black magic particles were not like other magic particles. The huge amount of energy contained in them made them larger than common sense. They were directly pressed to the ground and could not float. Reynolds gently touched the black magic particles, and in an instant, he felt endless stinginess. Reynolds could not help but be shocked. Not good. Reynolds seemed to have felt something. A blazing feeling came from inside his body, burning his organs. Then, black smoke came out from Reynolds's skin. There was also a very strong smell of blood in the smoke. Even on the battlefield, there would not be such a terrifying smell. Ah! Reno roared angrily. Instantly, the grass within a 10-meter radius around him withered, turning into dry specimens. Every blood vessel in Reynolds's body turned purplish black and appeared on his skin. The dense black blood vessels formed a kind of talisman that looked like a seal, as if it was imprisoning something in Reynolds's body. The unbearable pain made it difficult for Reynolds to stand. He directly knelt on the ground, and his 10 fingers dug into the soil, causing his hands to be covered in blood. The originally clear sky now seemed somewhat dim. Crows flew all over the sky, and it was filled with an ominous atmosphere. After a while, the ominous aura began to show signs of subsiding. The talisman on his body also gradually dissipated and hid under his skin. Phew! Reynolds gasped for breath. Only when his emotions had completely calmed down did he speak. That was close. I almost went berserk. Reynolds raised his wrist and wiped the sweat on his forehead. Fine. Thanks to this, I found the answer. Reynolds stood up with difficulty. White light appeared again and he disappeared. Everything in the world was filled with magic particles of different attributes. The dark green ones were the attributes of plants, the blue ones were the attributes of the sea and river, which was the well-known water attribute. The red ones were the attributes of fire and so on. Of course, there were also some magic composed of multiple attributes, which was called compound magic. As for the black magic particles, no one had ever discovered them. Reynolds searched along the black magic particles. He didn't move very fast. Firstly, he wanted to relieve the pain caused by the sudden change just now. Secondly, he wanted to check if there were any details that he had overlooked along the way. The closer he got to his destination, the more obvious the ominous aura became. Although the intensity was thousands of times more diluted than the aura released by Reynolds just now, it was no exaggeration to say that this was something that only the people of the demon race could do. At this point, Reynolds felt that he was not far away from the truth of Hope Village. It's just ahead. Reynolds passed through several rivers and went directly from the outermost area of the forest to the most central area. This forest was at the border area between the human race and the demon race. Although it was nominally owned by the human race, many people were still worried that the demon race would invade. Therefore, this resource-rich forest was almost never developed. The surrounding light was already very dim. For some reason, the surrounding temperature and scenery were already comparable to that of the evening. Chapter 626. Any random tree in the surroundings was more than 10 meters tall. Perhaps the canopy of these trees blocked the sunlight. There's actually such a place near the demon territory. Through the demon-expelling eye, Reynolds saw that there were almost endless dark magic particles and wood magic particles here. Of course, the dark magic particles here were not the same as the unknown black particles. Dark magic particles were also a branch of magic particles, which was the opposite of holy particles. It's a good place to use wood and dark magic. Of course, the premise is that there are no black particles here, Reynolds said self-deprecatingly. After a while, Reynolds seemed to feel something. He removed the flying magic on his back, tipped his toes, and landed steadily on the ground. It was extremely quiet here. There was not a single animal in sight. The darkness was like a cage of despair that trapped you inside. There was no sound at all. Only the eerie shadows of the moonlight on the ground could be seen. Reynolds saw that there seemed to be a human-shaped thing not far in front of him. With a flash of white light, Reynolds flashed in front of that thing. It was indeed a human-shaped creature. Judging from its appearance, it was hard to tell its gender. However, it retained its dark red hair and slightly bulging chest. Reynolds temporarily determined that it was a female creature. At this moment, she was leaning against the trunk of an unusually large ancient tree. Her 2-meter-long dark red hair fell on both sides of her shoulders like a waterfall. She was wearing a purple lace dress. Based on visual estimation, she was about 1.8 meters tall. Her skin was very dry, just like a mummy. The next moment, what shocked Reynolds was that there were 2 sharp horns on the female mummy's head. Although it was covered in dust, Reynolds was very sure that he knew the mummy in front of him. Female, dark red hair, sharp horns on index fingers, height 1.8 meters, human world. Reynolds put his hands on both sides of his head and shook it vigorously. No. I can't remember. Reynolds stared at the female mummy who was probably very beautiful when she was alive. When she was alive? Reynolds seemed to have seen something through the demon-expelling eye. He suddenly became nervous. Reynolds grabbed the mummy's wrist and began to transfer magic power into her body very slowly. Come on. You can do it. Although it was just a moment, Reynolds was very sure that he did not see wrongly. The magic particles in the female mummy's nostrils were moving irregularly. This most likely meant that the woman in front of him still had a very weak chance of survival. But according to all the signs, she should have been lying here for more than 10 years. It's impossible for her to be breathing. Reynolds shook his head vigorously. Forget it, let's save the demons first. Reynolds tried his best to control the output of his magic power to a more stable position. It was like a person who had not eaten for too long and could not eat too much meat at once. The years had made this woman's body extremely fragile. After a long period of time, the woman's breathing could be faintly seen with the naked eye. Even her skin had recovered some of its original moisture. As her appearance continued to recover, Reynolds's impression of her also changed slightly. She seems to be the one I sent to the human world to gather information. Reynolds lowered his head and thought carefully. No, I still can't remember. After a long while, the woman in front of him finally returned to her normal appearance. Her originally dark red hair had all turned crimson red. Her tall nose and crescent-shaped eyelashes were undoubtedly enough to put her on the throne of beauty. The woman seemed to have moved a little. She gently opened her eyes. Her similarly crimson pupils made her even more charming. After saying that, the woman fell silent for a moment. Suddenly, for some reason, she trembled and then directly chopped at Reynolds's neck with her hand. Ting! Reynolds blocked her hand with his palm and grabbed her right hand. Calm down, I'm the one who saved you. Perhaps because the woman had forcefully attacked, the intense pain directly woke her up from her muddle-headed state. You are? The woman asked weakly. Then, she said. You're not with them. They? Who are they? Reynolds withdrew his fingers from the woman's wrist. Your body is basically fine now. You just need to rest quietly. Reynolds stood up trembling. Just now, in order to treat this woman's injuries, he had squatted for a long time. His legs were numb. They are. As the woman spoke, she glanced at Reynolds. With shoulder-length white hair, sapphire blue pupils, and an unparalleled appearance, her pupils instantly shrank and she directly knelt in front of Reynolds. "Your subordinate, Liliana, greets your Excellency Demon King." Reynolds was taken aback by the sudden salute. "Get up quickly. Your body needs to rest. Tell me what happened and who are you?" When Liliana heard this, a faint sadness appeared on her face. "Your Excellency Demon King, you don't remember me? Atilda, my body hasn't been very good recently. I can't remember some things." Reynolds shook his head helplessly. Since 100 years ago, Reynolds had sealed most of the negative factors in the demon's bodies. His brain cells had been overloaded and he gradually forgot some things. "What? Your Excellency Demon King, are you all right?" I'm fine. Also, don't call me Your Excellency Demon King. It's too serious." To be honest, Reynolds had never let anyone call him Your Excellency Demon King in private. He would only hear it once or twice during some major events such as court meetings. Then, "Brother Reynolds. You don't remember? You are 10 years older than me. According to the seniority of the Eternal Night Clan, you are my older brother." The sudden addition of a younger sister really surprised Reynolds. The two of them did not chat much after that. Reynolds was worried that the surrounding environment was not suitable for someone like Liliana who had just recovered. He simply brought her back to the room and talked about the rest slowly. Ever since Reynolds brought Liliana back to the dormitory last time, Reynolds had specially used a video communication crystal to communicate with Ashen, who was far away in the Demon Palace. "What? You found Liliana?" Ashen shouted. "There really is such a younger sister, brother. It seems that the side effects of forcefully using powerful magic are becoming more and more obvious. Liliana is our Uncle Jean's daughter. She watched you grow up when she was young. No, to a certain extent, you also watched her grow up." Chapter 627. Uncle, who is it? Reynolds tilted his head and pretended to be harmless. Forget it. Anyway, Uncle Jean has been missing for a long time. It's fine if you don't remember. Ashen put away his joking tone and continued with a serious expression. "You have to treat Liliana well. She really worships you, the Demon King. More than a decade ago, when you sent her to the human world to scout for information about the enemy, she agreed without hesitation." Okay, I got it." Reynolds hung up the phone in a casual manner. "Uncle Jean, Reynolds was squatting behind the door of the room. It was not because of any reason, but because he felt awkward. An elder brother forgetting about his younger sister. Just thinking about it made him feel awkward. Reynolds leaned forward slightly and stuck his head out of the door a little. At this time, Liliana was eating at the dining table outside. Opposite her, Natalia saw a strong opponent and immediately gathered her energy to fight Liliana to the end. According to Liliana's narration, more than a decade ago, her identity as a spy was exposed and she was hunted down by the human race. She fled all the way to the vicinity of Hope Village, but a human great magus suddenly appeared and severely injured her. Then, she went into hiding. At this time, she met the dying Avina. Liliana pitied her and wanted to live, so she gave the last bit of her magic power to Avina. I wonder where Reynolds got this woman from. She can eat so much. Natalia had just returned from refining her body with magic particles. As soon as she entered the room, she saw Liliana gorging on her secret stash of food. She wanted to go up and argue, but before she could say anything, she was pulled aside by Reynolds. Reynolds spent a lot of time explaining to Natalia. "Is this your younger sister?" Natalia was puzzled. "Do you think I'm a fool? You've done so many wicked things in your life. Do you think you deserve such a beautiful younger sister? Okay, you want to eat my food." Natalia gritted her teeth and forced herself to rush to the table to grab the food. Liliana glanced at Natalia and continued to eat. Looking at how she was wolfing down the food, she really looked like a reincarnation of a hungry ghost, although it was not much different. The reason why Liliana was lying next to the ancient tree was that she had no strength left. She had managed to escape the pursuit of a grand magus with great difficulty, but because of the exhaustion of magic and the lack of food, she had finally lost consciousness under the ancient tree. Reynolds had also asked her what was going on. Of course, she was referring to the fact that she had been hibernating in an unconscious state for more than 10 years without eating or drinking. However, Liliana couldn't explain all of this. The black magic particles were actually the reason why the demons were naturally ferocious. Every demon had a large number of black magic particles in their bodies, but they had all been sealed by Reynolds 100 years ago. What is the reason for Liliana's magic to be so powerful? Celestial Gully was the name of the black magic particles. This was the meaning behind the difficulties that the heavens had placed on the demons. Siwung Village. Natalia lived in Siwung Village, but the whole village was massacred. Avina went to Siwung Village and happened to see the massacre. Liliana's identity was exposed, and she was chased by the Grand Magus, so she fled to Siwung Village. Reynolds retracted his head and subconsciously put his hand under his chin. Wait. Reynolds seemed to have suddenly thought of something. Liliana said that the Grand Magus joined halfway. What was he going to do? The more Reynolds thought about it, the more certain he became. There must be something big behind the tragedy in Siwung Village. At this moment, the exhausted Avina walked in with a tattered book. She had been studying the magic book that Reynolds had given her in the open space for the past few days. The dark circles under her eyes and messy hair proved that Avina hadn't rested much. Smack. As soon as Avina entered, she saw the person who had saved her from danger sitting there and eating. The magic book in the book fell to the ground. Oh no. Reynolds was afraid of an accident and immediately walked out of the room. He was afraid that Liliana's identity as a demon would be exposed, so he used a small spell to cover the two sharp horns on Liliana's head. Avina, let me introduce you. This is my younger sister, Liliana. She will be staying with us for a while, so please take care of her. Liliana also saw Avina standing at the door. Of course, based on Reynolds's introduction, she realized that the girl standing at the door was the one she had saved, but it wasn't convenient for her to recognize her now. Avina knew that she had two horns on her head, which meant that Avina knew that Liliana was a demon. Hello, my name is Avina. I'm Reynolds's student. Nice to meet you. Avina revealed a very bright smile. Then I'll go take a bath first. With that, Avina returned to her room. Brother Reynolds, she didn't recognize me. Liliana had a chicken claw in her mouth and gave Reynolds a look. Idiot. You don't know Avina. She's usually very introverted. She must have recognized you since she was so enthusiastic to you just now. Reynolds also gave Liliana a look. Oh. Hello, my name is Natalia. I'm also this person's student for the time being. Natalia didn't know what the two were gesturing with their eyes. Since Avina had greeted him just now, she should greet him too. What do you mean by this person? You should be more respectful to the Demon King. Reynolds. Liliana directly spat out the chicken claw in her mouth and complained. Damn it. As soon as Natalia heard Liliana's words, she was furious. Before Natalia could say anything, Reynolds directly jumped out. Haha. Don't mind her. My younger sister is like this. She has always been looking forward to me since she was young and always clings to me. Ha ha ha. Reynolds touched his head awkwardly. At the same time, Avina returned to her room and closed her door very quickly. Then she kept taking deep breaths to calm herself down. Her long black hair kept moving up and down with her breathing. Phew. Avina exhaled and gently placed her slender right hand on her chest. Found it. For more than 10 years, Avina had actually been looking for the demon who had once saved her. Although the demon didn't have horns on her head, Avina was very sure that the girl who called herself Reynolds's younger sister was the demon who had once saved her. Liliana, is it? Avina softly murmured the name of her savior. Chapter 628. Avina covered her mouth in shock. That night, Eric once again went to the ancient tree where Ju had been lying. The humans wouldn't send out a Grand Magus just to deal with a demon spy. That meant that the Grand Magus had come to Siwung Village for other reasons. I'm guessing that the massacre of the village was arranged by that human Grand Magus. The Magus profession had a very strict division of ranks, just like how chefs were divided into beginner, intermediate, and advanced. However, Magi were divided into 5 stages: Apprentice Magus, Spell Warrior, Magic Scholar, Magus Tutor, and Grand Magus. Grand Magi were, of course, the most powerful magicians among magicians. The number of Grand Magi in the entire human race could be counted with one's toes, and there were no more than 5 of them. By the way, it was worth mentioning that little brats like Tizia and the others were still at the stage of apprentice magician. As for Eric, he was a genius who claimed to be beyond the 3 realms and the 5 elements. How could a mere Grand Magus compare to him? Eric suddenly remembered the barrier outside the ruins of Xian village. It must have been set up by a Grand Magus. The Grand Magus should have brought a group of soldiers here. Although I don't know what their goal is, from the way they massacred the village, they should be looking for something. Eric leaned against the big tree, organized his thoughts, and continued. They were worried that the villagers had hidden the item, so they forced the villagers to hand it over by massacring the entire village. They must be looking for something important. Eric's eyes flashed and he clenched his fist. They're here for Tizia. That's not right. Did the human emperor find out that Tizia was the reincarnation of the Saintess? That's impossible. I only found out recently. I don't know. Eric was so vexed that he rubbed his head with both hands. As a shopkeeper who didn't do anything, it wasn't Eric's personality to constantly use his brain. However, it was already pretty good that he was able to deduce the situation to this extent. Hey, what's this? Eric was about to get up and leave. He was originally leaning against the tree, but he could vaguely feel that the trunk of the ancient tree was slightly dented. Eric turned around, looked at the ancient tree, and reached out to touch it. After touching it for a while and finding nothing unusual, Eric knocked on the bark. He didn't expect a very weak echo to come from inside. There's space inside. Demon Slayer Eye. Eric used the Demon Vanquishing Eye again. Through the Demon Expelling Eye, Eric could clearly see some very rare wood magic particles and black particles seeping out of the bark. These seeped out from the bark and formed a large rectangle on the bark. Obviously, this was a hidden door. Last time, Eric hadn't discovered this hidden door because of the large amount of wood elemental magic particles in the forest and the ravine on Dove's body. How do I open it? Eric used a low-level fire spell to test the waters. C-grade fire spell, Hellfire. A blazing purple flame rose from Eric's back. It mixed with the large amount of wood elemental magic particles in the air. The wood helped the fire to ignite, and the flame expanded in an instant with a fierce whoosh. Go! The fierce purple flame rushed towards the hidden door like a lion seeing its prey. It let out a roar and hit its prey. Bang! There was a huge explosion, and the hellfire hit the hidden door vertically. This was a forest, so Eric had to extinguish the sparks in order to not cause a fire. The moss on the surface of the hidden door burned fiercely, but it didn't seem to have any obvious effect. Interesting. Eric stepped forward. Magic Emperor Armor. A pitch-black magic circle circled around Eric's right arm and continued to descend until it passed through his palm. Wherever the magic circle passed, chunks of heavy armor would appear on Eric's right arm and float around him. Close! Eric shouted in a low voice. The right arm of the Magic Emperor armor was directly attached to Eric's arm. Suddenly, with Eric as the center, an extremely large amount of magic aura spread around, bringing with it a gust of air that blew through the entire forest. At this time, Eric was like a demon god standing in the center of the forest. The cool breeze blew, causing his white shawl to sway. He was like a god, a bit like a scene described in ancient myths. Eric's right hand grabbed the top of the rectangular hidden door. Although it didn't feel strange from the touch, Eric immediately pulled with all his strength. He could clearly feel a mysterious force blocking him. Open! The right arm of the Magic Emperor armor emitted a dark light. Eric's arm swelled a lot in an instant, and he directly tore off the entire rectangular piece of bark. Boom! With the removal of the hidden door, a tunnel about 3 meters high was revealed. Then, an extremely large amount of magic came from inside. This magic could even be said to be one of the few magic that Eric had seen in his life. Interesting. Eric disarmed the Magic Emperor armor on his right hand. He first stuck his head into the tunnel to take a look. He found that it was pitch black inside, and he couldn't even see his own fingers in front of him. Although the lighting in the center of the forest wasn't very good, causing the surroundings to be a mess, and the growth of plants was very uneven. Not far from the tunnel, there were spiral stone steps that led to the underground. The stone steps were very old and covered in moss. If one accidentally stepped on them and fell down, they would be more suitable to be described as meat paste in the future. Moss light. Eric used a small intermediate light spell. Moss light allowed the caster's body to emit a blue light that could be controlled for a period of time. Eric walked to the stone steps unhurriedly. There was a thick damp smell around him. It should be caused by the water that seeped down from the ancient trees that didn't evaporate. Eric looked at the bottomless spiral stone steps in front of him and jumped down without thinking. The speed of the fall was very fast, and the whistling of the cold wind was a little chilly. After a while, Eric saw the ground paved with bluestone. Ouch! Eric wanted to land in a handsome posture, but he didn't know what he stepped on and fell down. Chapter 629. A secluded place with no one around was the best place to practice Chinibya. This was what Eric had learned in his 200 years of life. Eric looked down at the bottom of his foot and realized that he had tripped over a large and slippery piece of moss. What's this? Just as Eric was about to stomp on the moss, he suddenly realized that there was something under it. Eric took out a handkerchief from the black disc and put it on his hand. He touched the moss with his index finger and realized that there were black bloodstains under it. It looks like this bloodstain was left here quite a while ago. Eric looked up and scanned his surroundings. He realized that there was a lot of moss around, and there was one every 3 feet. The moss is arranged in a straight line. There should be someone up ahead. Eric stood up and put the handkerchief back into the black disc. He continued forward. The bloodstains made him stop fooling around. Eric followed the moss and stopped after a short while. Hiss, hiss. A strange sound came from around him. Moss light. Eric adjusted the brightness of the moss light to the highest. Suddenly, he realized that he was surrounded by hundreds of large spiders. Each spider was bigger and stronger than the previous 4. They also emitted a strong aura of sky ravine. Eric was all too familiar with this aura. Hiss. One of the spiders spat out a ball of silk at Eric, but Eric easily dodged it by jumping back. Whoosh! To Eric's surprise, a 2-meter-wide vine suddenly emerged from the ground and rushed directly at the spider. The spider wanted to run, but it was still bound by the vine and strangled to death on the spider web. Is there something suppressing these spiders? Seeing that the spider that had attacked earlier had died, the other spiders all moved in different sizes. In the end, they retreated along the web, leaving a path for Eric to pass through. Eric vaguely sensed the seriousness of the situation and hurried forward. A moment later, a light blue light appeared in front of him. Eric immediately teleported to that place. There was an incomparably huge stone door. The smooth grey surface made Eric wonder how this stone door was made. In the middle of the intersection between the 2 stone doors, there were densely packed grooves that were 3 fingers wide. These grooves were intertwined to form a circular shape. There were some words engraved on the side that even Eric couldn't understand. The grooves were emitting a faint blue light. The light blue light that Eric saw just now was emitted by these grooves. This is. Eric unconsciously made a set of classic movements when he was thinking. His left thumb and middle finger were on both sides of his lower lip, and his index finger was on his middle finger. This is an ancient magic array. Eric finally understood why the designer of this place had set the option of a hidden door. Ancient magic arrays were used by ancient people a long, long time ago. After a long time, most of them had been lost. In terms of value and power, an ancient magic array was comparable to an SSS-level spell. Eric roughly analyzed the ancient magic array in front of him. Although he couldn't understand the specific content, he could roughly guess that it was a sealing spell, and an absolute sealing spell. The so-called absolute sealing magic was actually a magic that had a strong sealing effect and no way to break it. It was the same principle as having a lock but not having a key. Since the spellcaster didn't want anyone to open it, it meant that there was something very important hidden inside. Okay, let me break it. To be honest, Eric didn't want to break the ancient magic array by force. Since the spellcaster didn't want anyone to find it, he must have his reasons. However, the thing inside the stone door was related to the top secret of the demons, the Heavenly Ravine. Eric had to break it. It was actually very simple to break the absolute sealing spell. He just had to use a more powerful offensive spell to break it. Even Eric couldn't cast an SSS rank spell instantaneously. Just as Eric was about to recite the spell, something he hadn't noticed before attracted his attention. What is this? In a small space beside the stone door, there was a blue vine growing out of the blood-soaked soil. Eric walked over to take a look and found that there were two people in the middle of the blue vine. Were they also attacked by the vine? Eric took a closer look and found that there was a man and a woman inside the vines. The man looked to be about 40 years old. He was a middle-aged tree with short black hair. His body was like a beast, and there were dried bloodstains on both sides of his face. Although the vines only exposed their heads, Eric could still vaguely imagine the bulging muscles of the man. The woman had long black hair and tender skin. She was a beauty. She looked like a young lady in her 20s. They must be husband and wife, Eric exclaimed. Look at how happy they are. They must be very happy. Eric turned around and was about to step forward to continue casting spells when all of a sudden, wait, Natalia looks like them. Eric hurriedly looked at the two people inside the vine. Natalia said that her father went back to Sheehan village to save his wife. What if they came here with serious injuries? Eric continued, the blue vine can heal wounds. Such a big vine should be able to save their lives. Although Eric wasn't sure whether they were Natalia's parents, he still checked their bodies just in case. Demon removal eye. Both of them had fatal wounds on their bodies. Through the demon removal eye, Eric could see the flow of magic in their bodies through the vine. It's a bit troublesome. Their souls and bodies have already been separated. The vines have protected their bodies, but their souls. Eric searched everywhere in the tunnel, but still couldn't find their souls. According to the time, their souls should have dissipated 12 years ago. Chapter 630. Eric's conclusion had basically announced the death of these two people. If a person's soul had dissipated, then no matter what, it would be impossible to save them. Looking at the two people's loving faces, Eric felt very uncomfortable. Their only regret was that they did not know how Natalia was doing. Eric looked at them in silence for a long time, and finally nodded as if he had made up his mind about something. All right. Hey, idiot, where did you go this time? I have been looking for you for a long time. After returning from the forest, it was already midnight. Reynolds sneaked into the house on tiptoe. Originally, he did not know how to face Natalia, but as soon as he entered the house, he was caught red-handed by Tizia. Haha, I just went out for a walk, and the weather outside is really good. Oh, is that so? Let me see. Tizia stuck her head out of the door, but with her golden hair, she looked like a newborn chick that had just broken out of its shell and was looking at the world. The moon is dark outside, the wind is strong, and the stars are twinkling. There is a unique fragrance in the air, and the sound of insects is lingering in my ears. It is as if they are telling a legendary story, and, wait. Tizia, just tell me what you want me to do. I can't stand you like this. Reynolds had a very deep understanding of Tizia's every word and action. The legendary saying that one would not visit a temple without a reason was referring to this kind of person. Hehe, I was discovered. Tizia stuck out her little tongue and knocked on the right side of her head with her little fist, making a cute action. The effect was not bad, at least, it was more reliable than Reynolds's cute action. Speaking of Reynolds's cute action, it was really on the same level as singing and falling to death while running. Let's talk about this in the future. Actually, Didn't you teach me how to use magic particles to train my body before? She even used you. It must be something bad. Yes. Reynolds echoed. This afternoon, after I finished my lunch, I ran into the forest to train. Then, I suddenly felt a very large amount of wood element magic, so I tried to absorb it, and in the end, it was really absorbed into my body. I just want to ask you to fight with me for a while to practice. Wood element energy? It should have been emitted when the barrier around the hidden door was broken. Reynolds thought about it for a moment and agreed to it. Indeed, it's not enough to just bury yourself in training. You have to improve yourself through actual combat. How about this? Go and call Natalia out and let her try it too. All right. Tizia happily went back to the house to look for Natalia. After a while, Tizia returned with a group of people. Hey, Avina, what are you doing here? Hurry back to the cage and finish your remaining 100 laps. I heard that I can come over to watch the show. After you guys are done, I'll go back and continue running. As she spoke, Avina's eyes turned into the shape of a carrot. She took out a carrot from somewhere and started nibbling on it. What about you, Jew? Reynolds looked at Jew, who was following closely behind Tizia. I'm here to admire Brother Reynolds's heroic bearing. H. Be careful that I don't beat your brother Reynolds to tears. Tizia raised her clenched fist and pointed at Jew with her nose. Before Jew could refute, Reynolds quickly pulled Tizia over and started the duel. The location of the duel was a patch of grass not far away from the house. The grass under their feet was very lush, and some of the weeds even exceeded their knees. The environment at night was indeed similar to what Tizia had said. The stars in the sky were fighting to be praised by the people on the ground. There was a light wind. It wasn't very strong, but it was enough to make their hair sway. Tizia took the initiative to start the duel. She held her breath and started chanting the incantation slowly. Fluttering silver feathers, entrusted with the thoughts of the heart. There will always be people who seek the other side of the dream. Spread your wings, wings of heaven. After she finished chanting her incantation, a silver magic array appeared behind Tizia's back and began to spin. Shortly after, the magic array shattered, and a pair of pure white wings appeared on both sides of Tizia's back. When the wings flapped, white feathers filled the air, looking like snowflakes drifting through the air, beautiful and elegant. I'm coming. Tizia shouted out loudly. Holding on to the thin sword that she brought with her, she rushed towards Reynolds. Every inch of the place that she passed by, she left behind feathers falling down. It was as if she was an angel that had descended to the mortal world. Whoosh! Tizia's sword pierced straight towards Reynolds's abdomen. Although the sword's speed was fast, Reynolds still managed to dodge it easily. It's not over yet. When Tizia saw that her attack had missed, she instantly reversed her grip on her sword in mid-air. She then turned around and charged at Reynolds once more. This time, Reynolds didn't seem to have any intention of dodging the attack. He directly used his right palm that was strengthened by magic and forcefully grabbed onto Tizia's thin sword. What? You actually managed to grab onto my sword? Tizia wanted to pull her sword out of Reynolds's hand. However, after trying for a long time, she realized that there was no effect at all. You have improved compared to last time. However, there is a problem with your battle strategy. Furthermore, your sword is not good enough. Next time, I will get you a better sword. After saying that, Reynolds used his strength and broke Tizia's thin sword in half. Tizia had saved up a lot of money to buy this sword. It had been a few years since she bought it. Although she had always wanted to replace it, she was reluctant to do so. Due to the broken sword, Tizia was sent flying backwards. However, before she could react, Reynolds used space jump to appear in front of her. Reynolds punched Tizia's stomach with a straight hook. Of course, he knew how to control his strength. He wouldn't endanger Tizia's life. The pain that she had never experienced before made Tizia's mind a little fuzzy. This was the first time in her life that she had received such a heavy attack. Although she had received some injuries during the PvP matches in the academy, they paled in comparison to this. Tizia knelt on the ground with her left knee, her hands hugging her lower abdomen. Her expression was somewhat uncontrollable. The broken sword was stuck vertically into the ground. This also made Tizia realize just how powerful Reynolds was. "All right, you lost. I can still fight." Tizia stood up, trembling. Although the weapon in her hand was broken, it didn't hinder her from fighting. "All right. You can only continue to fight if you have a good rest. I will compensate you with a new sword in a few days." After saying that, Reynolds turned to Avina and shouted, "Avina, hurry up and help Tizia back to her room to rest." Chapter 631. Without hesitation, Avina enlarged herself and carried Natalia on her back as fast as she could. How could Reynolds be so ruthless? Avina couldn't help but complain, even though she knew that Reynolds was doing this for Natalia's sake. Reynolds didn't feel good when he saw the unconscious Natalia on Avina's back. It was the same as the saying, "When I hit you, I feel the pain in my heart." Reynolds only felt relieved when he saw Avina send Natalia back to her room. "Natalia, it's your turn." "Okay." Natalia's expression was very solemn. She knew that Reynolds was very powerful, but she hadn't seen it with her own eyes. She finally saw how powerful Reynolds was after the battle between him and Natalia. "What should I do? Should I summon a puppet or attack with magic?" Natalia bit her lower lip lightly and cast her most commonly used magic. "Whispers of the fallen angel, for the sake of the world, I am willing to use my broken arm to punish the foreign species." Demonic arm. Following Natalia's incantation, a purple magic circle quickly unfolded under Reynolds's feet. The magic circle slowly rotated counterclockwise. Finally, after the last word of the incantation, a huge black right arm stretched out from the magic circle with a boom, kicking up a cloud of dust. "Oh, this isn't bad." Reynolds gave a good evaluation of the magic's power and range. Demonic arm was a type of magic that belonged to the dark attribute. Not only was it powerful, but it was also very rare. Everyone had different adaptations to different attributes of magic. Take Natalia for example. Her magic adaptability level was A, which meant that she could absorb and sense the existence of magic particles better than others. At the same time, everyone's magic attribute was different. It was just that when a caster cast a spell of a corresponding attribute, the power would increase by a lot. It didn't mean that they couldn't use spells of other attributes. "But I'm afraid this isn't enough for me." The Sky Demon arm charged straight at Reynolds, trying to grab him, but Reynolds was like a fluttering cotton ball. It couldn't grab him no matter how hard it tried. Reynolds had been using magic particles to temper his body since he was a child, just like Natalia, except that he loved her more strictly. "Of course I know that this is not enough to trap you, teacher." After saying that, Natalia stretched out her right hand in front of her, her palm facing Reynolds. "But when you were distracted, I had already finished chanting another spell." Then, Natalia put her left hand under her right hand, trying to control the output of magic power in this way. "Undead summon," Natalia shouted. Immediately after, a purplish-black magic array appeared between the two of them and spread out in all directions. The magic array spread very quickly, and in just a moment, it covered the surrounding space. "Teacher, you must be careful. This is my most powerful spell." Reynolds nodded in relief. "Not bad, but you don't have much magic left in your body. Such a large-scale spell must consume a lot of magic power. Indeed, this spell can summon the corpses of all dead animals within a certain period of time." Along with Natalia's voice, Reynolds heard many small sounds beginning to surround him. Countless little insects, birds, beasts, demons, and human corpses crawled out from the ground. "Teacher, this is the grassland, the world of beast." Reynolds could see many weak magic surges without the demon-expelling eye. Although the individual strength of these puppets was as weak as dregs, the human wave tactic was always useful. "Go." Thousands of insects began to move under Natalia's command. They were hidden in the lush grassland, and ordinary people couldn't see them at all. So many human and demon corpses. Is it because this place was once a battlefield? Although they were said to be humans and demons, their bodies had already rotted away. Now, only their creaking skeletons were left. If it weren't for the two horns on some of the skeletons' heads, it was really possible to mistake them for humans. Reynolds looked at the densely packed zombie puppets walking towards him without a trace of panic on his face. Lord Demon King's strength is the strongest, there's no other. Avina said quietly from the side. Natalia was actually very confident in her move. Although she didn't expect to rely on it to defeat Reynolds, it was good to make him feel some pressure. But in the next moment, Natalia felt that her thoughts were deeply childish. From afar, she saw Reynolds standing on the spot and snap his fingers. Suddenly, a purple-red flame spread out with Reynolds as the center, directly burning all the puppets to ashes. To be able to burn a skeleton to ashes in an instant, one could imagine how high the temperature of the flame was. Natalia looked around and found that the grassland around them was the same as before. Apart from some small damage caused by the demonic arm, the flame completely avoided the grass and didn't cause any harm to them. Natalia laughed bitterly. "Teacher, I've lost. I've never seen such amazing control before. You actually destroyed my puppets without causing any damage to the flowers and plants. I accept my loss wholeheartedly." Reynolds spread out his hands. "If you study hard, you can reach the same level. You did well just now, using one spell to buy time for another spell to be cast." Reynolds was actually very satisfied with Natalia's attack. "Where's Katerina? Call her out too." Reynolds said casually. "Teacher, have you forgotten? Katerina has already returned home." "Oh, right. Look at my memory." Reynolds patted Natalia's head. "Keep it up." "Okay." Natalia blushed. "Only my parents have patted my head since I was young." Parents? Reynolds could also see Natalia's thoughts. I'd better not tell him. As for Natalia's parents, Reynolds had already made up his mind. Even if the method to find their souls could only be done with great magic, even if he had to pay the price with his life, he would still revive them. I'm so tired. I'm so tired." When Reynolds returned to his room, he saw Avina sitting on his bed. It seemed that she had already helped Natalia settle down. "How is it?" "Not good," Avina said in her exclusive lowly voice. Avina seemed to be a little angry with Reynolds. Even her eyes became slightly burning flames. Chapter 632. Okay. She has a lot of wood magic in her body now. She'll recover in a few days. Reynolds seemed to have thought of something. "Hey, were you trying to use Natalia's matter to avoid running?" Most of the water in the forest had been thrown to other areas by Reynolds, perhaps because of the change in the atmosphere a few days ago. The sunlight was very comfortable. Every strand of golden light shone into the room through the thin special window. Everywhere was warm, and the people in the room were full of comfort. Natalia opened her tightly closed eyes, but the comfortable feeling brought by the sunlight was immediately interrupted by the pain in her abdomen. "Reynolds, that bastard, he hurt me so much." Natalia threw a tantrum that was unique to her. "That idiot is really powerful. Maybe with him, I can find the truth about Hope Village." At this moment, Natalia heard a knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. "It's me, Reynolds." A familiar voice came from outside the door. That's strange. Why is he here?" Natalia hesitated for a moment. Could it be that she didn't hit me hard enough yesterday, so she's here to finish me off? At this thought, Natalia was speechless. She forgot to change into her pajamas and ran to open the door. "Coming." Natalia opened the door. Wait, did I open the door the wrong way? I think I saw something strange. Just as Reynolds was about to enter, Natalia suddenly closed the door with lightning speed. She had just seen Reynolds standing outside in a maid's outfit, with long white rabbit ears on his head. The black and white outfit matched his petite figure very well, and the black lace stockings on his legs made him look so charming. My nose. What the hell? After closing the door, Natalia looked outside through the peephole. Reynolds was holding a medium-sized iron plate in his hand, and there were some exquisite dishes on the plate. There were salads, meat dishes, and the almighty artifact, hot water, etc. So cute. For a moment, Natalia forgot that Reynolds had punched her. Knock, knock, knock. There were 3 more knocks on the door. Natalia, it's me. Why did you close the door again? I hit my nose. Why are you dressed like this? Reynolds's short white hair was a highlight, and it was a clear contrast with most of the black clothes. His long and curved eyelashes, and his crystal blue pupils exuded a touch of innocence. This time, Reynolds even put on the black stockings given by Avina, which made Natalia blush like a monkey's butt. Ah! Steam seemed to be rising from Natalia's head. What should I do? He's so cute, I want to hug him. Meanwhile, on the other side of the room, Reynolds. Avina, just you wait. In fact, ever since Reynolds punched Natalia last night, he had been feeling uneasy. Although he had controlled his strength, he still felt sorry for Natalia. Therefore, Avina stepped forward and gave Reynolds a very loyal suggestion. Reynolds, why don't you put on a maid's outfit and apologize to her? While you're at it, prepare some of Natalia's favorite food, and it'll be settled. Hey, you just want to see me in a maid's outfit, and I even have a maid's outfit. Before Reynolds could finish, Avina took out a maid's outfit from the wardrobe and placed it in front of Reynolds. What do you want to say? Nothing. Hey, you've only been awake for a few days. Where did you get these things? I've long expected this day to come, so I've prepared in advance. Back to the present. Why are you dressed like this? Of course I'm here to apologize to you. I hit you a little too hard last night. Let me in. It's embarrassing to be outside. Don't let Lilith see you again. Okay. Natalia opened the door, and then Reynolds ran in like a fish seeing water. Sob, good. Avina and Lilith didn't see me. At this moment. Lilith, did you get everything? Yes. Everything is done. The 360-degree one without any blind spots. Okay, quickly make a few hundred copies and save them. Look, I made these myself. The salad I just pulled from the ground, the meat skewers made from the spider carcasses, and the water I boiled with fire. Try it. Although Natalia didn't know how to remove magic, she could clearly see that there was a steady stream of black bubbles coming out of the food. Hey, isn't it just boiling water? How did you make it into something so deadly? You're not here to apologize at all. You're killing people to silence them. Why aren't you eating? Is it not good? Reynolds asked with concern when he saw that Natalia didn't eat immediately after seeing the food. I'm not that hungry yet. It's okay, I'll eat later. Oh no. I was beaten silly last night. Oh, okay. I'll put it here first. Especially the hot water, remember to drink it while it's hot. Reynolds put the iron plate on the table. Oh, right. Look. Reynolds put his hand into the black plate and took out a sword that glowed faintly. The body of the sword was silver white, and there were some indecipherable runes engraved on it. There were 2 golden patterns on both sides of the sword that went all the way to the blade. The hilt was also golden, as if it was a derivative of the patterns. It looked very grand. Here, for you. Reynolds handed the sword to Natalia. Wow. Natalia hurriedly took the sword. The shape, the aura, the sharpness. Natalia stroked the sword back and forth, unable to hide the smile on her face. It seems that Natalia likes it a lot. This sword is called the 6 Wings. It's very powerful. Take some time to study it yourself. Okay. Natalia waved the hexapod wings in the room. Every time she waved the sword, there would be an ear-piercing sound of air being torn apart. Natalia tried to inject some mana into the sword. Suddenly, the hexapod wings turned from silver to dark green, exuding a dense vitality of wood magic particles. Wow. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.